Pokey Beatdown coming at you. Paul, Cody, UFC Vegas 115 from the Meta Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. You were saying, and man, we're just happy to have fights at the end of the day. Things, something that we can bet, something I can live bet. But you were like, what was that Smolka versus Holohan card? Because this one's, I mean, it's not the most inspiring offering being given to us. But, you got the White House card coming up, some other pay-per-views and stuff. They have cards every single week. It's bound to happen that you're going to have like one of these like Contender Series Plus. That's what I'm kind of looking at this as. You have a lot of people coming off of Contender Series or having their second fight off of Contender Series, and we're kind of figuring out the new batch of people in the UFC. How you doing, Cody?
Yeah, good. Yeah, we were discussing, is it as bad as UFC Fight Night 76 from way back in the day? But I was just glimpsing through that one at least, and it had Darren Till versus Nicholas Dalby, Stevie Ray was on the card, Christoph Jotko, Tom Breeze, Darren Elkins was on the card. So, yeah, I mean, I think when you're looking at small little Apex cards, that was actually a fight night over in Ireland that was supposed to have Joe Duffy versus Dustin Poirier, but last second cancellation led to the co-main event being the main event. I think it's easy to complain about the quality of card, but again, we're fight fans. We're watching every single card every single week, and comparatively to, we're watching LFA and CFFC and Cage Wars, and this is much better than any of those offerings. So yeah, you can't be overly critical on it. It's that, can you find the value? And in this card in particular, it's a lot of fighters that, as Paul mentioned, Contender Series Plus. To me, it's UFC. I didn't even realize you were still on the roster because there's a number of these between Manolo, Zecchini, and of course, we're going to talk about Lando Vanata still on the roster. Darrius Flowers was released from the roster on an 0-3 run and then apparently re-signed. So a lot of these guys haven't fought in years. And in the case of Orlando Vanata, it's like he's a much better fighter. Look at this one performance. And this performance is 5 years ago already. So it's a lot of guesswork. Is this fighter injured? Is this fighter healthy? Is this fighter motivated? Is this fighter looking for a quick payday before they're on their way out? Who knows? But we've been given pay-per-view offerings. We've been giving high-profile fights. I just been cold. I just been kind of missing out ever so slightly. You can make excuses and say the fighter was looking good until he wasn't. It's not the end result. And I'm only looking for the end result. These sneaky, greasy little fight nights do provide value. And so all I can say is hopefully on the undercard, at least we snipe a few of them and make it all worth it. But as far as the main card's concerned, yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about the what ifs and the who possibly can blow it for us this week. Because, yeah, a lot of inconsistency up and down this board.
I wasn't going to do it. But I'm going to do it. Why did you bet an over in a Terrence McKinney fight?
Okay, no. I'm glad you called me out on that. Because one, I mean, dude, it was like plus 200.
I told you to put that as your top line instead of like whatever else. Just plug in like the minus 250. I mean, it's as good as a lot of the other favorites on the card on their money line. So like that minus 250 was the freest minus 250 on the card.
Yeah,
as every Terrence McKinney card.
I know, and I'm sure, as you know, it is a Terrence McKinney fight. That was the big blunder of all, was that it was a Terrence McKinney fight. But yeah, have you ever seen another fight where the under 1.5 is minus 250? And for the most part, it's just
Yakhyaev is like minus 400 on this card.
Well, he's minus 1,800 on the money line, so chances are that he's a quick finisher. Brendson Ribeiro is usually getting stopped quick, and I understand that Kyle Nelson had been finished early, but as you and I outlined in the preview last week, is that for the most part, outside of Steve Garcia, most guys have been finishing him later in the fight. So because I was backing Kyle Nelson last week, you could take that Kyle Nelson money line at plus 140, or if he's gonna win this fight, he's probably just gonna have to outlast this early storm, take it into the round 2, wait until Terrence McKinney gasses, and then capitalize. So if I was on McKinney and I thought McKinney was going to run through him, which, by the way, McKinney ran right through him. If he were on that side, it's like, yeah, he's going to get it done early because that's his win condition. Whereas because I was fading him, the win condition of Kyle Nelson was just weather the early storm, take over later. So it was plus 200, plus 205, I believe, on over 1.5. It seemed tempting. Yeah, it was being contrarian. Yeah, you're going off, a proven commodity, a proven stat.
12-0 to the under now?
Yeah, 12 straight unders. There was 11 straight unders going into that one. It's like everybody's hot on it this week. It's like, and a lot of times when you're expecting this sheer violence, sometimes it doesn't materialize. McKinney had also gone on record being like, I normally start fast, and I could start fast here, but I think I can extend this guy, and I don't want to blow my load too quickly, like that time with Dino Belbita. And the bottom line was it was all smoke and mirrors. He knew what he had to do. He knows what his win condition is. He knows what fighting to the best of his abilities entails, which is get after it
Pouring
right
it
off the
on
get go.
fast.
Yeah, and then so that's exactly what he did. So
his interviews did worry me. I literally like every play that I had last week was tied to that. So that went over 1.5. So when I saw it on your card, I was just like, well, maybe Cody sees something. And I did look into the interviews and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna say this respectfully, of course, but like, I don't know if I really trust anything that comes out of that guy's mouth. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if everything's really like, methodical. And I mean, he's just happy to get the win. I still think they didn't give him a bonus, which is funny because every single one of his fights is probably worthy of it. Anyway, I'm sorry to bring up the past.
No,
to call you out
fine.
on that
I'm
one. When
glad
I
you
saw
did.
that on your card, I was just like, I told him to top line that under, and hate to say it, but I was right. Anyway, main event. Oh,
No,
sorry.
as you know,
Talk.
I spend a lot of time all the time talking, and so I need to start listening more, Paul, because you're 100% right, dude. You were like, listen, I can give you one half of your PRP this week. You only need to find one guy to attach it with. And it was attaching with that under 2 or the under 1.5. So again, because the PRP is not like props, it's just you're just going by straight money line guys and you're parlaying them together. I didn't go that route. I put Adesanya at the top for the simple reason of the plan on hedging, and then because I only had 2 tickets in the line going into the main event, I let it ride. And well, again, it was looking good until it wasn't. So then them's just the breaks. But you did try to warn me. You're an excellent co-host, Paul. It's time for me to sometimes just shut my mouth and accept the facts that
the show
death
doesn't
taxes and Terrence McKinney under 1.5. So you're absolutely
and
correct.
McKinney unders is definitely the thing.
Yeah.
That being said, I mean, MMA is a crazy sport. I mean, Grasso landing the cleanest Celtic cross you've ever seen in your life and absolutely nuking Barber was not really. I mean, she was 25-1 to win by knockout. She hadn't had a knockout in like 13 years or whatever. So MMA is crazy. One of these days, Terrence McKinney will go over 1.5. It'll have to go up against some sort of like pillow-fisted dude with a great chin. There's someone out there, probably.
McKinney too is that you're right. He did not get the post-fight bonus again, and then everyone's rallying for him, being like, "Come on, what's this guy got to do to get a post-fight bonus?" But McKinney comes out online and he's like, "Guys, don't worry about me. They took care of me in the back afterwards. Don't worry about the performance bonus." They got thinking, you know what? That's the way to go because the performance bonus, you're paying taxes on it. It's on paper, right? Everybody knows about it. Maybe in the backroom bag of cash. Which, for the record, they do bags of cash a bunch. I mean, I've seen.
They do bags of cash.
Yeah,
remember cash. You're good.
Remember that time Figueiredo, former champion, they gave him a bag of cash in the back. They're like, "Here's your post-fight bonus in cash, $50,000 in cash." Dana hands it to him. So in that case, it's like, yeah, you can go straight to the casino afterwards and blow it, or you can blow it other places. But point being, yeah, if I'm McKinney, it's like, I don't want to have $500,000 in purse checks and bonuses that Uncle Sam's going to take 50% of. I'd rather the bag of cash in the back. Give me 30 cash in the back instead of the 50 bonus on a check. You know what I'm saying? So they're probably taking care of.
You're gonna have to pay up. You're gonna have to pay the taxes on it anyway.
Yeah,
that would only work for like American fighters though, because you can't. Within law, can't really travel over the border with more than like 10K.
No, but you'd be like, here is 10K in my pocket, and here's 10K in my coach's pocket, and here's 10K in my assistant coach's pocket, and here's 10K in my wife's pocket, and make it go through. My brother one time was traveling to France, and they were like, you can't take this carton of cigarettes. You can only take an unopened pack of cigarettes. So he opened the whole carton and removed one smoke out of every pack and then distributed amongst his buddies. And they all brought open packs of cigarettes on, which was fine. And then he was good. So, there's always a loophole. Where there's a will, there is a way. And in this case, I think there's worse problems to be having than I have $50,000 in cash and I can't get out of Las Vegas. Just chill, dog. You'll get it through one way or another.
Well, we spent 10 minutes talking about everything except for UFC Vegas 115. I think it probably has to do with the fact that we're not entirely stoked for this card. But, time codes as always, guys. I'm sure other people have already skipped over all of this, but pitter patter, let's get at her. Main event, we got Renato Moicano taking on Chris Duncan. Duncan, the minus 170 favorite to come back on Moicano plus 145. Who you got, Cody?
Yeah, so certainly I don't think they're training together for this fight, and maybe they've gone a few camps with not spending a ton of time together, but they have trained extensively in the past at American Top Team. So with Chris Duncan, a lot of it is this guy's got a lot of heart. He's got some decent durability. He's just swings for the fences. He's got a lot of great intangibles. He's a real fighter. But a lot of his little special hit you with that guillotine choke or wait for you to go to the outside trip so he can grab up the neck. Like a lot of those little quick little tricks that he has, maybe Moicano's seen. And then flip side to that, Moicano's straight jab to a body lock takedown to grabbing your back is something that Duncan may have seen. So if they're familiar with each other, I mean, this one probably does play closer to a chess match, but it's a Chris Duncan fight, and there's not a whole lot of chess matching to be having. It's more just checkers, and he knows how to double you up. When you look at his career, it's like it's been slow at times. He makes a lot of mistakes in all of these fights. You go back to his Contender Series fight with Vyacheslav Borshev, first time on the Contender Series, ends up losing by TKO second round. Looks good in the first and then just kind of runs out of fuel. Him versus Charlie Campbell. He gets hurt pretty bad in the first and then returns fire on him. Him versus Omar Morales, split decision. Him versus Yanal Ashmuz. Kimijo. I always pronounce this wrong. You know it. That Japanese judge. Junichiro
Kamijo?
Kamijo, yeah, he actually scored the second round for Ashmuz. It's just not great. That Manuel Torres fight, and I think when you look at tape study and how this could go bad for Duncan, that Manuel Torres fight would be the best one. Is that not only is he able to get the takedowns, but right to the back, and as soon as he's able to get both hooks in and grab at the neck, he's able to grab that rear naked choke. Moicano thrives with the rear naked choke. He thrives with putting both hooks in, flattening, landing ground and pound. His fight with Benoit Saint-Denis, he just racks up a ton of damage in that first off one Saint-Denis mistake. So you don't want to give this guy too much time to get comfortable because he's going to grab the neck at some point. But when you look at physicality, Duncan's just the stronger guy. Moicano might be a little bit bigger, but Duncan is physically stronger. When you look at striking, Duncan largely throws a lot of hooks. It's a lot of power shots. He struggles against straight punches. When you watch him versus Blagioki is almost tripling him up in the first round until the stupid outside trip into the guillotine choke. Point being is that it's the jab. It's just a straight jab. And the straight jab down the middle is giving Duncan a whole lot of problems. Moicano throws very linear. I mean, he's not known for his striking prowess, but when he does throw punches, a lot of it is straight down the gut. So I do see him giving some problems to Duncan in that regard. Duncan versus Jordan Vucinic, right? Second round, tide starting to turn, and then Vucinic shoots into that patented guillotine choke. There are ways to beat him. You can outstrike him. You can outgrapple him. You can kind of push him ever so slightly. But in a 5-round situation, not that we've seen Duncan go to those waters before, but it just seems like if you're tired and he's tired, that's when the heart's going to be put on display, and that's where Duncan thrives. His fight with Matus Rebecki is very competitive. It's very close. Both guys are bleeding all over the place. But at the end of 3 rounds, it's Rebecki's that's slowing down and moving backwards, and Duncan's the one biting down on his mouthpiece and pressing on, which looks good to the judges. He was one of the few guys that's able to withstand that Terrence McKinney barrage. So again, if you want to go punch for this guy, eventually I think he's going to find a way to break through. If you want to out-grapple him, although it's possible, you'd probably have to have some decent wrestling. And that's where with Renato Moicano, I'm not sure that I think he's got enough wrestling to get the job done. Him losing is typically him getting taken down. We saw that in his last fight with Beneil Dariush. He knocked Dariush down in the first. Second and the third, Dariush just starts spamming takedowns, and he has a lot of success with it. Islam Makhachev is Islam Makhachev. You don't have to spend too much time there, but going back to say his fight with Rafael dos Anjos once upon a time, it's the 5 takedowns from dos Anjos and then the ground and pound that starts to rack up over the course of 5 rounds. Moicano's got the back class. He's got the experience. When you look at the level of guys that he's been fighting, Dariush, Islam Makhachev, Benoit Saint-Denis, Jalen Turner, even the Drew Dober fight where he soundly out-wrestles Drew Dober. All of those guys are, I wouldn't say better than Duncan, but higher level than Duncan. And those are his opponents. Duncan's opponents are guys that Moicano would likely be walking right through as well. So it just makes it kind of a tough fight to get a read on. I'm going to end up going Duncan, just being that he's the younger guy. He's got a whole lot of momentum right now. Moicano's on a 2-fight losing streak. Moicano's got a podcast going. Moicano's made that money that he's been talking about. I'm not sure that he's fighter first at this point as much as he's an entertainer. And Duncan's right on the path here of just continuing this momentum, continuing this winning streak, and getting himself some real money fights. So in the end, expect a competitive first couple rounds, but then Duncan starts to take over the longer this thing goes, lands some damage, keeps the fight upright, and then just shows off some superior striking. There'll be blood. He'll be banged up. You might be able to get a better live price. You might be able to avoid Duncan getting caught with a first or second round submission by live betting this thing. But in the end, the overall work rate, I think, of Chris Duncan is going to be able to lead to him getting his hand raised one way or another. So I'm not super confident on this main event. I understand it's the biggest fight on the card. I understand it's by far the best fight on the card. But yeah, got to make a pick for it. And for me, I just feel like Duncan's in a better spot in his career and has seen some of these Moicano tricks so far in the gym. So I remember even Duncan's last fight with Terrence McKinney. It's like he knew he was probably going to get caught in a McKinney choke at some point. So it's like, how do you prepare for this? And it's like, start the positions in these submissions and then just fight out of it. And they brought in Moicano to help him with his submission grappling. So you felt this guy before. You know what he goes to. You know what his best move is. And you just got to do your best to avoid it early before taking over a little bit later. So Duncan's live for the knockout as well. We remember the Jalen Turner fight. Jalen Turner knocks him down and then just walks away and then looks at Herb Dean and puts his hands up like, well, you mean you're not going to stop this? Yet Duncan doesn't do that. He doesn't turn around and walk away. He sits you down. He's jumping on top of you and making your life absolute hell. So, yeah, expect a violent encounter and Chris Duncan to get the win at the end of it.
So, quick one. They both used to train at ATT. Duncan still trains at ATT?
Duncan, well, yeah, because, I don't know, once Poirier retired, maybe Duncan decided to go do his own thing. But, yeah, from what I've seen, he was still there.
Or do they both still train at ATT?
I believe
Who's going to have Mike Brown in their corner?
Duncan.
That's the edge.
That's the edge. That means you're on the A squad. You don't want to be on the B squad.
I mean, let's face it. Mike Brown would probably know everything about Moicano at this point. They know everything about each other. It'll be a very, very fascinating fight. I've been historically kind of off on both of these guys. Don't plan on getting heavily invested. Probably more of a fight that I'm going to go live. But yeah, the wrestling, it's whenever Moicano is outmatched in the wrestling, in the grappling, which I don't even know for sure that he is here. But whenever he is, it usually ends up being a bad night for Renato Moicano. When somebody can take him down, hang out in his guard, and just win minutes that way. I imagine that's what Duncan's going to try to do here. So Duncan minus 170. How I'd play it if I were to click the button right now. Moving on down, we got Virna Jandiroba taking on Tabatha Ricci. Virna minus 125 favorite to come back on Ricci plus 105. This is a fight, Cody. This is a fight.
It's a grappling match.
I guess, yeah. I mean, every single one of Virna's fights are grappling matches. Ricci's the much better striker. Virna's such a tough one to the reason why this show is actually coming out late is I was trying to tape this one and fell asleep and slept through our usual record time. I mean, anybody who's watching on Friday or Saturday, they have no idea. But people who watch the moment this thing drops, it's dropping late because Virna's style made me fall asleep.
No, I'll tell you the real reason, Paul Shaughnessy. The real reason that the show's coming out late is I thought it was a sick April Fool's joke that the UFC was putting this card on. And I was just waiting for them to be like, psych, here's some good fights. But no, there was no psych. And there's very few good fights. But yeah, we do have a co-feature here with at least a former title challenger in Virna Jandiroba.
Virna she's just great at controlling time, killing minutes, killing time. Dern, close friend and former training partner at the very least of Tabatha Ricci, knows Virna quite well, has been in there with her twice. Those are like the only fights that Virna's actually had to throw strikes. I don't know. Ricci just seems like the much better striker between the two of them. The 106 significant strikes. It was over 5 rounds of work. Don't get me wrong, but that's a bit of an outlier for Virna. I don't know. It's basically a pick 'em, and it's gonna be a fight for who can get top control. And really nobody's been getting top control and being able to win that type of fight against Ricci. And if it stays on the feet, I have faith in Ricci being able to get to 100 significant strikes. So, baby shark for me. What about you?
Yeah, I'm torn on this one as well, because if you just look just on stats, it's well, how does Virna win with top control time, just like you mentioned? And with Tabatha Ricci, yeah, no one's ever racked up like more than a minute of control time on her. You can, in theory, take her down, but yeah, she just pops right back up right away. She's also a very good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and if she's not accepting that bottom control and can spring back up to her feet, then yeah, as you mentioned, she's a better striker than Virna Jandiroba. The thing is that Virna Jandiroba's fought lots of good black belts, and she holds all of them down.
Yep.
She's got 12 fights in the UFC, I believe. She's taken down 11 opponents. And I'm talking Carla Esparza, former champion, former college wrestler, took her down 3 times. Mackenzie Dern, the first time, took her down. The only girl she's not taken down was Kanako Murata, who was a very high-level Japanese wrestler, and she broke her arm instead and forced the stoppage that way. But Marina Rodriguez, 3 takedowns. With those 3 takedowns, she racked up 12 minutes of control time. Well, Marina Rodriguez can't really grapple. That's fine. What about Lupi Godinez? Lupi Godinez is a similar opponent, familiar opponent. 2 for 9 on takedowns, but got the 6.5 minutes of control time. Yan Zhanao. Yan fought for a title. And this is a girl that's very big for the weight class, strong, physical girl. 3 for 11, but the 3 for 11 yields 10 minutes of control time. Even that last fight with Mackenzie Dern, it's a 5-rounder, and she racks up 9 takedowns over the course of the 25 minutes. So is it at some point the fight's going to hit the ground? At some point, Virna's going to get the takedown. It's just a matter of can Tabatha Ricci spring back up, and that's where I think is the unknown. It's very easy to say, well, no one's done it before, but who has she fought? Amanda Hebes, not a big grappler. Yan Zhanao, the common opponent. She couldn't take Yan down. You go ahead.
Jillian Robertson would be the name I would say if you were to ask that question.
Jillian Robertson would be the one for sure. She was able to win the takedowns over Robertson. She was able to outstrike her and pick up a decision. The fight's only, a little less than 3 years ago. And so how many improvements has she made since then? Her boyfriend's Callum Walsh, the Zuffa boxer. And I know she's been working extensively on her striking, but this is not really a fight that's going to require this much better improved jab. She never really had a jab to begin with, but I'm sure Walsh has given her a jab over time, or at least, working these fundamentals. She's probably adding the stuff to her game. But again, if you look back her fight with Lupi Godinez, she loses split decision. Her fight with Tisha Torres, which she won, I thought she lost that fight. She had been outstruck fairly soundly in that. So her fights are generally pretty close.
Yep.
And Virna does a good job of keeping it close as well. Now, this is an Apex show, and they're probably looking for damage. They're looking for more than just control time. And in that regard, you'd expect Tabatha Ricci to have the damage over the control time. But, you go back to Ricci's UFC debut. It's 4 years ago. It's up a weight class. It's short notice. There's a million things going against her in that fight with Manolo Fierro. But Manolo Fierro is just way too strong, way too physical. Ricci can't literally get nothing going in that spot. When I look at Virna Jandiroba, Virna's very unassuming, but she's extremely strong. And so if she can get into these clinch positions, she's going to wear it on her. She's going to be able to peel her to the mat, get some top control time. And then you're really leaving it in the hands of the judges of what are they looking for? If you can get 7 minutes of control time versus getting outlanded by 20, 30 strikes in the margin, is that enough? You want to believe it is. And so that is the reason I am going Tabatha Ricci, is I do believe in the Apex, in a show that is going to be very lowly attended, and you're going to hear every single punch, that the judges are likely going to be looking at people who get the fight to people who are landing the more damaging blows. Now, and I will say this, if you look back 2 weeks ago, Movsar Evloev just doesn't shoot takedowns, right? It's weird. It's like, did somebody get in his ear and be like, hey, we don't want to see you wrestle the entire time. It's kind of boring. And then last week with Ricky Simone's got a very clear path to victory here against Adrian Yanez, which is uses his wrestling. And he does it. He hardly shoots any takedowns in that fight. Very unusual for Slick Ricky. Is someone getting in Ricky Simone's ear and saying, hey,
Hunter
we want
Campbell.
to see...
He
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
like a weasel, doesn't he?
And there's he is too. Well, did you see that Demetrius Johnson thing? He's like, I saw Hunter in Seattle. I didn't see Dana. They inducted him into the Hall of Fame in Seattle. They said, they announced he'll be inducted into the Hall of Fame for Demetrius Johnson. And then they said, did you talk to Dana in Seattle? He's like, no, I never saw him. But I did talk to Hunter Campbell. And I told Hunter, I said, hey, I really appreciate you guys releasing me from my contract years back when I wanted to leave. And Hunter apparently says to him, he says, oh, yeah, congratulations on all that money you made in one championship. He's that kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that's rooting against you. not for you. And in the Paramount era, they want violence, they want entertainment. They're signing a bunch of these random Contender Series guys who are willing to dish out CTE for $12,000.
Yes.
That it's possible that they are telling fighters do not shoot, as much as try to have a more entertaining fight.
You have contract negotiations coming up, and your style isn't exactly, something that we want around here.
Now, there's other fights on this card where I'm going to apply that theory that the path to victory here is to wrestle. And if someone told you wrestle less, it is not going to work out. But in Virna's case, she's just going to wrestle.
That's her
and she did a pre-fight interview this week where she's like, I don't understand the criticism for grappling. Like, this is MMA. It's not stand and bang. It's not, get yourself hurt for peanuts. It's get the fight to the ground and use your grappling. And so Virna, it's not lost on her. Even if you told her you should stand more, it's like, she's not going to. I expect her to try to get this fight to the ground. But if Hunter, a multimillionaire with a lot of influence and a lot of power, and I'm not saying it's him, I'm saying if someone's telling the fighters, guys, we want to see you stand and strike more. Someone's telling the judges, guys, go for damage. If you stop scoring control time, if you score it way less, and these guys that constantly go for the takedowns and try to hold you down, if they're all of a sudden losing all of these decisions, then they're going to have to adjust their own games and they'll just stand and strike because that's the only thing that's scoring now. So if that's the trend, these Virna Jandiroba types who are just really entire game plan is predicated on racking up long periods of control on the ground with not necessarily the most ground and pound. She will have submission attempts. She will have that last fight with Dern. She did a good job of landing a lot, but for the most part, she's set in her ways. So Ricci just maybe lands a few more damaging blows. Ricci's last fight with Hebus, you saw those elbows from the clinch, big shots against the cage. That's probably what's going to be the lasting impression on the judges' minds. And they're the ones who are scoring this thing. I don't think anybody expects this thing to finish inside the distance. It looks like it's probably earmarked to be either a Jandiroba decision or a Ricci decision. And if you're going to base that decision on who's landing the more damaging shots, then it should be Ricci. So it's another fight that I'm not super confident on because Jandiroba has a way to make you just sweat out the ticket. And oh my God, I knew this was going to happen and I still went against it. And she's highly effective. But the older she gets, she is one-dimensional. Opponents are going to figure it out. Ricci's got a black belt of her own. Ricci generally does a good job of getting back up to her feet. And of course, she is the better striker. So all those elements just play together to make her the pick for me this week.
Yeah, fight ends in split is probably super, super short, as it probably should be. But
yeah, that's another one that makes sense, though.
We would have said the same thing about Grasso versus Barber. I think we did say the same thing. And yeah, MMA is crazy sometimes. So Virna by flying helicopter kick.
I'll have you know, though, just for the record, that Alexa Grasso has won 4 of her last 18 rounds in MMA ball. So, you know how much flack I took Grasso?
You get any follow-up traction on that doozy?
Yeah, I could bring up the tweet now, but yeah, there was a bunch in particular that were like, ha ha, I told you so. No, it's whatever. I don't want to give the guy any. He's a well-known troll in the space. So I don't want to give him any extra time. But again, you're obviously not watching the show. I know our guy, Stubborn Mick, my guy, always got my back. That guy's solid, dude. Always got my back. He had told me, he's like, listen, he did pick Grasso, right? You don't watch the show. You look at this one tweet. Clearly, it's no real context to it. It's just a stat, and people don't want to accept that. So
Mick's fighting your wars, eh? That's a good guy to have in your Twitter trenches.
Dude, 100%. Honestly, I got a lot of respect for him. People be like, Mick's had a couple drinks. You want Mick having a few drinks. That's when he really goes to bat for you, right? So, no, that's my guy, 100%.
All right. Yeah, we said we were going to be quick. We're 28 minutes in, and we've only gotten through 2 fights. But
we'll rifle through now.
I mean, this one's pretty straightforward. We got Abdulrakhman, Yakhyaev, minus 1,800 favorites, 2,000 in some spots. Taking on Brendson, Ribeiro, who can be had for upwards of 10-1 on the money line. Yakhyaev, still pretty young. He's like 25 years old at this point. Seems to be very good at everything. He's like a Chechenian by way of Turkey. Not spinning attacks on the feet, but the grappling, the submission skills are all... I mean, he has the makings of somebody who can make that next step who can probably find their way to a title. And it doesn't hurt that he is fighting at, in this weight class. But yeah, the price is so prohibitive that you go, well, what the hell am I supposed to do with this fight? If I get 205 pounds with Yakhyaev's skill set, I mean, he hasn't beaten anybody significant yet, but he's ran through his first two opponents, official UFC opponents, in a little bit over a minute combined. They were Alec Lorenz and Rafael Cerquera, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, it's the pricing is so prohibitive. I'm not sure what to do with it. Ribeiro has been knocked out, and his last three losses have all been KO losses. So that makes sense why the sub and the KO prop, there is a slight difference, like mine or plus 160-ish for the sub, where it's like evens for the KO. Round one is like minus 275. It's all kind of tricky because Yakhyaev is 100% the type of guy who will drop you with a spinning kick or a beautiful strike and then get to your back and then sub you. Guy looks like the real deal, but it's going to be a while before we get a real test of his mettle. Brendson Ribeiro looks good getting off the bus. Looks like a scary dude I would definitely not pick a fight with at a bar. But he does not have the skills to win this fight. How are you approaching this fight? Because I'm not sure what to do with the prop side of things.
Yeah, I got first round knockout for Yakhyaev, being that he's well rounded. He can submit you just as easily, can knock you out. But I think in Brendson Ribeiro's case, his last 5 losses in MMA are all by knockout, and they're all in the first round. So this is a squash match set up. It's minus 1,800 on the money line. You got a 25-year-old unbeaten prospect in Yakhyaev, and this is what the UFC likes. They need 205ers. They like these guys that have a very exciting style, which he does. And then I think that at minus 1,800, if this fight makes it to the second round, that in itself is a moral defeat. Should be smashing through this guy. Much lesser talent have been able to knock him out in the first round, and that's exactly what you need to do. But yeah, I do have like some PTSD from the last time I bet Kyle Daukaus over Jaromir Sharp by knockout. And it's like, he's got him. He's got him, Paul.
I had that too.
And then he just grabs the neck and Darce chokes him instead, because it's like, well, why keep hammering away when he's giving up his neck and I got a move that I can go to? So very much with Yakhyaev, it's like if he drops you and all of a sudden you give up your neck, you don't think he's just going to snatch it up. Very possible that he does do that. Yakhyaev, 6 of his last 6 fights, 5 of them have ended in the first round. The one that didn't make it to the first round, it went the full 5 rounds in a title fight against this Nikolai Kovalenko. And Kovalenko is a heavyweight, currently fighting in that game-bred one-night heavyweight tournament. I don't even know it's in a one-night tournament, but that game-bred bare-knuckle MMA heavyweight tournament. So, like, Kovalenko is a big guy, and he fought him for 5 rounds. You can see in the 4th and 5th round, it's like his body language is, oh, man, I'm tired on the stool. Then the round starts. He throws 2 punches. He gets right to the takedown, pushes him up against the cage, hits the double leg, and goes. So a lot of the time with these good-looking prospects with under 10 fights, very inexperienced in the UFC. His last 2 fights between Contender Series and his debut lasted 1 minute and 3 seconds collectively. There's that worry of like, what if he punches himself out? But in this case, like, I think he is a good looking prospect that just nobody's been extending him beyond 30 seconds. Nobody's been extending him beyond a minute. No one's been extending him beyond that first round. Is Brendson the guy that's going to extend him? I just don't think so. I don't think he's got the durability to do it. Umar C, who's complete bust at this point, he got the first round TKO. Azamat Murzakanov, he kind of does that to everybody. But the Ming Yang Zhang fight is a good example. Is that he rocks Ming Yang Zhang. Zhang looks at the ref to be like, dude, he poked me in the eye. Brendson's like, oh, I got this guy hurt. Steps 1 step forward, and Zhang just zaps him with a right hand and knocks him out completely. The guy, if he wants to be aggressive, he walks into counters. If he wants to be defensive, he's just going to get backed up and get clipped with something at some point. Now, again, the point being is that the money line's minus 1,800, but the first round knockout prop is plus 130. So you can still get plus money on this thing, being that you need him to knock him out in the first round. If you don't like that first round prop, the knockout overall is only minus 130, which is not terrible, but it's just like Paul said. the
Sub is
margins,
100% like
the margins between a club and sub is right there, right?
like this his like Yakhyaev's fight against Cerqueira there where he got a first round sub. He literally drops him with strikes in the early going, like the early seconds of that fight, gets to the back, and then from that position, he could have either A, flattened him out and just barrage strikes, or grabs the neck. He grabs the neck because it's there, and Cerqueira taps super, super quick. But I mean, you're splitting hairs. I agree that the KO prop should be the favorite of the two. I just don't know if there's much quote unquote value on any of these things.
Maybe
It's
not.
a tricky one. I mean, it's probably one of those. It's probably going to be way too short too. It's like probably one of those. The people who have like gone in 60-second props. Like I'm sure I'll probably waste some money throwing it out at that, and it'll be finished. A minute and 3 seconds into the fight or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's prohibitive pricing. I'm not going to be shocked by a sub or a KO. I wish I had a big time conviction here. Maybe the move is just eat the chalk on the round one prop, which is super like minus 227 is the best I can play on that. I could parlay that up. That's probably how I go about it. Get some exposure to this fight because I feel like he gets him out of there in the first round. If C could do it, and yeah, and I mean, Murderkanov does Murderkanov things, but
there's been a lot of guys that have done it the same way. Just again, I think it's it might be his last 6 losses are all knockout, and they're not just knockout; they're all first round knockout.
He lost to Gadziasulov by decision.
Gadziasulov out wrestled him in that fight, so I think when you think what's
which leads
me
to
Ribeiro
believe
good
the sub would be 100% on the, I think I'm just taking the round one. It's like minus 225 is the best I can grab on it.
Yeah.
I'll parlay up this, which is on the move. It started at 172. It's down to that. It's probably going to keep growing. But that's how I'm going to get exposure to Yakhyaev. It ain't pretty, but gets me off of the minus 2,000. It's pretty hard to make money betting minus 2,000. So you just need everything else around it to fall into place. Moving on down. We got Ethyn Ewing taking on Rafael Estevam. Ewing a minus 145 favorite. The comeback on Estevam plus 125. Who you got here, buddy?
Yeah, well, this one's a tough one because you got Rafael Estevam is one of these guys that has just the most boring style in the world. Racks up a ton of takedowns, takedown after takedown after takedown after takedown, and then doesn't do anything with it. His fight with Charles Johnson, he took Charles Johnson down 3 times. He racked 9 minutes and 23 seconds of control time. Here's the thing. He went 3 for 22 on takedowns against Charles Johnson, and he got outstruck 72-18 in the significant strikes. And they scored it for him? How is this possible? Well, because he had the control time. Yeah, but he doesn't do anything. Now, more importantly there is that he misses weight against Charles Johnson. Came in at 128 for a 125 fight. Him versus Jesus Aguilar, he racks up 11 takedowns. 11 on 19. He racks up 9 minutes and 22 seconds of control time. Yet he got outstruck 35-11 by Jesus Aguilar. So you beat Charles Johnson, and yet he triples you up in the significant strikes, actually quadruples you up. And then you beat Jesus Aguilar, where he triples you up in the significant strikes. You're just waiting for the wrong set of judges to be like, I ain't rating what this guy's doing, which is constantly taking you down and holding you down. Charles Johnson, he beat him 29-28. Jesus Aguilar, he beat him 29-28. And in his last fight against Felipe Bunez, he won the fight 29-28. He's not winning 30-27s. He's not cleanly winning without a shadow of a doubt. He's gassing out. And when, by the way, that last fight with Felipe Bunez, he misses weight again. Comes in at 130 for a 125 fight. So here's a weight bully who's too big for the weight class. And because he's missing weight, is able to come in big and strong, grab a hold of you, peel you to the ground, and then not do anything. So you got 2 risks here going Rafael Estevam. 3 risks. Risk number 1, he's now moving up to 135 pounds. Risk number 2, you need the right set of judges to be favoring control time over damage. And as we discussed, it's trending away from that type of logic. thing number 3, you better hope Hunter Campbell don't go in his room and say, don't shoot takedowns, because that's all the guy can do. I'm just not impressed, Paul. I mean, he's got a very boring style. I don't think the UFC is in the market for these type of guys. If he wins this fight, he goes 4-0 in the UFC, his contract's done. Do they re-sign him? Do they want those types? Ethyn Ewing is a violent fighter. He wants to stand. He wants to trade. He's rugged, blue-collar guy. Trains with Josh Barnett. Trains with Victor Henry. Can kind of do a little bit of all. He actually did lose his first 2 pro fights, and since then is on a 9-fight winning streak. That's a blue-collar guy. That's a hard-working individual getting better at his craft. Springs an upset in his UFC debut, short notice against Malcolm Wellmaker. All good stuff. If this is a fight, Ewing's going to win it. This is a wrestling match. It's like, yeah, Rafael Estevam's kind of got an ability to get to that. But yeah, I go back to that catch-as-catch-can wrestling out of Fullerton, California. Josh Barnett, Victor Henry, they're all good wrestlers. It's a good wrestling team. They're very good at scrambles. I feel like Estevam may be getting takedowns, but Ewing's not just going to accept position. He's going to make him work for it. Being that it's now up at 135 pounds, Estevam will probably have a better weight cut, but he'll be less of a weight bully. And even if he does get takedowns, if he's getting doubled up in the significant strikes, if he's holding on, but he's eating these small little elbows, then they may not be scoring it for him. And then the problem with his last 3 wins, all being 29-28s, is that, yeah, you win a round, you lose a round, and then it could easily just go against you, right? It could easily fall that you lose the 29-28. You're not a front runner. You're not a very definitive guy. Don't really go and put your stamp on any of these fights. It might be a lot more exhausting to be wrestling this larger man. Maybe that tires him out quicker. And Estevam really doesn't have much weight, much cardio. Now, not cutting the weight, maybe that leads to him having a better gas tank. But I just feel like his whole game is Brazilian weight bully, take you down, hold you down, very boring. They're looking to screw a guy like that on the scorecards, and Ewing's probably the guy that's going to land a little bit more. The limited handful of people in attendance will be cheering him on simply because they're looking for a fight. And the UFC's current model of favoring the fighters that are actively trying to entertain and actively trying to land those damaging blows is probably going to rear its head here. So I got Ethyn Ewing. The money line's close enough. I would think that Rafael Estevam, being that he's undefeated in the UFC and a little more experience and Brazilian guy, that he should have maybe been the favorite. But I was just looking to get a better price on Ewing than this minus 130, minus 145 kind of out there on the books. Yeah, I think his sophomore outing coming off that Wellmaker fight should be even better. And all you got to do is just land those short shots, land those short elbows, try to make this as dirty of a fight as possible, leave it in the hands of the judges, which no one wants to do. But I'm hoping that they get this one right this time around. So I got Ethyn Ewing to spring out a decision.
Yeah, I mean, moving up a weight class with your style being what Rafael Estevam's style was, about the worst situation possible, right? Now you're taking on, like, he pretty much had a size advantage at 125 pounds against everybody. He's 5'8", like a 69-inch reach. Now he's taking on somebody who is 2 inches shorter but has the same reach, probably same, at least at the very least same level of musculature and everything like that. Yeah, and I've been waiting for the Estevam train to kind of fall off the tracks, so I will side with Ewing here as well. Coming in short notice, pretty big underdog against Wellmaker, who was knocking off everybody's head. Pretty good look. Couple decent regional wins in the first round by knockout over Billy Brand, Santos.
That was a nice knockout, yeah.
Those aren't bad guys.
No,
like, they're
contender series guy.
Borderline contender series kind of level guys. Verdinha, as I've seen fight a few times as well. For that region, it's not horrible level of competition. Yeah, I mean, if the fight was in Brazil, maybe you get a little bit more leeway being, with Rafael Estevam's style and everything like that. But yeah, he just hasn't done anything. He hasn't shown enough ability on the feet. It's like, if he can't get the takedown, if he can't just hang out in your guard, he doesn't seem to have much of a game. We'll find out super early into the fight, because Ewing had 3 takedowns against Wellmaker last time out there as well. So yeah, if he gets stuffed on that first takedown, maybe a good live betting situation. Like watch those first exchanges of wrestling and then pound Ewing if he's able to like stuff those first takedowns. One of those things that's like hard to know pre-flop, but yeah, he'll be my pick as well. We got Tommy McMillen taking on Manolo Zecchini. Tommy McMillen, a minus 1,400 favorite. Zecchini can be had for plus 800. McMillen coming off of being, of a fight that very well could have been a draw on Contender Series against David Magoyan. Round one, Magoyan landed some really good stuff. If it was one of those, if they scored the fight as a whole, I think it would have been a draw. You know what I mean? Because rounds 2 and 3, McMillen kind of edged those 2 rounds out. Magoyan looked pretty tired in round 3. Magoyan's fighting on that card with Ngannou and Rousey.
Yeah, the MVP card.
The MVP card. So
I like David Moyen, but yeah, Tommy.
He's only
took
21. Tommy's already 27. Most of his wins by submission. He was kind of, dropping for guillotines and stuff like that. Front head chokes and stuff throughout the Magoyan fight. Zecchini got dropped by body shots against Morgan Charrier, who, I guess I'm wrong on Charrier because now he's got a couple finishes, but wasn't exactly a great look. Like he folded like a sack of potatoes the moment that he got hit to the body there.
And that was 3 years ago.
Was that 3 years ago?
Yeah.
I was just watching his one. I didn't even look at the date of that. Well, what the hell is he doing here then?
That's what I'm saying.
They're trying to get McMillen a win, quite clearly.
Bluffing.
But yeah, how are we approaching this one? McMillen by sub?
Yeah, McMillen by whatever he wants. I think he probably goes for the TKO, being that, this is it's a golden opportunity. You're Sean O'Malley's buddy. He's also undefeated. He's a 3-time state champion wrestler out of Montana. He was 29-0 his senior season. And now you're working with some top guys over in Arizona. I feel like he was recruited fairly young to be part of Sean O'Malley's camp. And now you're getting a lot of one-on-one time between a lot. They're bringing in top guys. Yes, he's 27, but he's not had a whole lot of damage. He's starting to just pick up. You look at the early portion of his career, it's all can crushing. He's certified can crushing. Kerry Latimer's 14-35. Dumaroa, Paul. Dumaroa. And then all of a sudden you're on the Contender Series. So I'll admit I faded him against David Moyen, being that Moyen's pretty solid. He's only 21 years old. He's a top prospect. He gets in really good work at American Top Team, and the guy hits like an absolute freight train. And McMillen felt that power early, but the longer the fight goes, McMillen shows you the guy is a dog on a bone. He's very wily. He's very creative. He's got a lot of tenacity to him, and just feels the momentum, feels the vibe, feeds off that. So I would like to see this guy in an arena because I feel like the crowd will be able to urge him on. But his Contender Series fight against Moyen, where he's sitting there screaming at Moyen like, let's go, is in the apex. This guy don't need a whole lot to get amped up. And I feel like that forward pressure on a guy like Manolo Zecchini is just going to break him down. It's your UFC debut. You're minus 1,400 favorite, a minus 1,200 favorite. It's supposed to be a walkthrough. Would it be simple to knock him out? Sure. But what does the UFC want to see? What do the fans want to see? They want to see that knockout. They want to see that violence. Sean O'Malley, your buddy, your training partner, made a career on knocking these guys out. That's the highlight reel. Against this level of guy who got hurt to the body 3 years ago, hasn't fought in 3 years, was hurt to the body against Morgan Charrier, who, Paul's right, has finished a few guys, beat Nate Landwehr, that's got to count for something, but doesn't really finish a whole lot of guys in less than 4 minutes. And one body kick really starts to hurt the guy, and then everything trends downwards after that. So with McMillen, he's probably another guy that you want to chase on the under 1.5, someone that probably does finish the fight in the first round. I feel like submission prop is going to be the most logical, being that most of his wins are by submission. But I feel like this is a good spot for him to just kind of show off his striking, let his hands go. And then against an opponent that really can't take those shots, should be able to crumple over. You got a guy hurt on all fours in the fetal position. Do you grab the neck or do you keep punching? Guy like McMillen will probably keep punching, I think. So I'm kind of leaning towards the TKO, but we're just trying to improve the fact that you can't bet this money line. So you have to find some small edge. It's going to be
KO prop is a lot wider than
is it a lot wider?
Well, sub is like minus 140.
And
him
the
by
KO
sub.
is,
I mean, it kind of makes like in the McGoyan fights, like he's like grabbing front headlocks and stuff like that. Like he is actively looking to try to grab the neck, even from like standing positions, right? Because he's like, and then because he's not really able to play that game against a guy with the wrestling ability of McGoyan, then he just, kind of lets it go on the feet. I don't really know what like the upside long term for McMillen is. But that's a hell of a good win against McGoyan. I mean, I feel like that was one of those fights. It's like they should have signed both of them. They should have signed McGoyan as well. He's definitely UFC quote unquote ready. So we'll see if they lost a good one in McGoyan, who's 21 years old, and
may have.
we'll see how long MVP Promotions goes for. But it's
Not
always good
long.
to have a little bit of competition out there, especially in North America. I guess yeah, like I see like the KO prop for McMillen as high as like plus 290 out there.
Plus
Plus 200. Yeah, KO prop. This is FightOdds.pro. Friend of the podcast. We don't get paid any money for it. But if you're wondering why I've got fight odds, but I've got like, a bit of a better, fresher layout, that this is what it is. For anybody who asks. Yeah, I mean, the book that I have access to as plus 290. It's on the move at Bet Online. So McMillen KO, Yakhyaev round 1. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Free money.
Yeah, well, we're being
Maybe
contrarian
not
again.
free
Like,
money.
McMillan subbed is, I think he beat a
Most of
majority
them.
decision over David Moyen, and then prior to that, his last 4 wins are all first round submission,
Yeah.
3 guillotines and a rear naked choke. But a lot of that is you shoot on him, he grabs the front headlock. I don't think Manolo Zecchini is going to shoot a takedown.
No.
He's going to try to stand his ground, and McMillan should walk right through him. So because you're young, 27, you're 9-0, it's your UFC debut, I'd expect him to be aggressive, and I expect him to throw his hands. And when you watch, again, the early portion of his regional show career, he's down to knock guys out. It's that as they don't want to get knocked out, they take desperation shots, and he's been converting them into submission wins. But I just don't think that Zecchini's really going to put his head in that position as much as he's going to get his head knocked off. So if you can get a better plus money on the TKO instead of chasing that sub prop, that's where I'm going to end up landing.
I'm just writing that down so I remember what to parlay after we're done doing the show. We got Guilherme Pat taking on Thomas Peterson in a heavyweight slobber knocker for the ages, Cody. Thomas Peterson is a minus 113 favorite. Pretty much a straight pick. I'm Guilherme Pat, minus 107. You shop around a little bit. It seems like there's a little bit of action coming in on Peterson. Both of these guys are like bottom of the barrel heavyweights. Do you have a strong lean on this one? Because I watched tape and almost got cancer.
Yeah, I feel like I want to take Thomas Peterson, but who's been burned on Thomas Peterson bets more than me? Not a whole lot of guys. I think I fall in love with the fact that he's a former junior college national champion wrestler. I feel like I fall in love with the fact that as a heavyweight, he is somewhat mobile. He can wrestle. And at this weight class, it's like that's kind of all you need. The problem is that he's a little bit tentative with his striking. He doesn't really commit to that wrestling. It's not like he's going to stick to the game plan of wrestle for the entire 15 minutes for the most part. And that he just seems to make these one small mistakes in every fight. And then that leads him to getting knocked out. Him versus Jamal Pogues, he hardly shoots any takedowns and he loses. Him versus Shamil Gaziev, he got a takedown right off the get-go. Boom, double leg takedown, lands on Gaziev. Gaziev shifts, gets back up. Gaziev's got no gas tank. All Peterson's got to do is shoot again. Keep shooting this first round, tire him out. And instead, after that first successful takedown and Gaziev gets back up, Peterson decides he just wants to stand with him, and he gets knocked out. Him versus Vitor Petrino. In that second round, he wins the second round. The third round, Vitor just knocks him right at the beginning of the third round. Seemingly, his striking is just not that good. His durability isn't great. And Guilherme Pat at 6'5" is the better striker. He throws a little bit more. He's a little more straight with his jab, straight with the right hand, a little more linear all around, and then just has a higher output. But can he wrestle? Well, that's a great question. And I'm going to lean towards not really. And I say that because, one, he's 6'5", which It's not a problem. It's a benefit, right? He's long and he likes that long rangey kickboxing. If he can establish long rangey kickboxing against Peterson, he'll be okay. But this is the apex. There's not a whole lot of room to work with. And being that you're 6'5", you're going to need some space to operate with if long range kickboxing is your entire game. The second thing is that he's only 6-0. So he's very inexperienced. He's not been tested by anybody who has that experience level of Thomas Peterson or the wrestling acumen. But then number 3 against Alan Fry. And yeah, man, this is Alan Fry Jr. on the Contender Series. Fry got no takedowns. In fact, he didn't even try to take him down. He just pushed him up into the cage.
There's a lot of standing cage control in that fight.
7 minutes and 55 seconds of standing cage control time. Yeah. So Peterson can get the standing cage control time if he wants it, but better yet, he might drop down to the hips and get the takedown. And at 6'5", you got to create space to explode and get back up. When you're that big and you only have 6 pro fights, taking you to deeper waters, forcing you to lie on your back, forcing you to accept these positions, it's going to be draining on you. It's going to be taxing. This is officially your UFC debut. You're back in the apex. There's no live crowd, but there is that extra pressure. There is that extra anxiety, and that's something that Peterson's already dealt with. So comparatively to, I just fought Vitor Petrino and arguably took the second round off him, to now I'm fighting Guilherme Pat, who spent 8 minutes with his back up against the cage against Alan Fry Jr. I would say that Peterson can get this thing where he wants it. Now, does someone come in the back room and tell Thomas, hey, don't shoot? No, because he really doesn't overly wrestle. He's not one of these guys that you have to go talk to and say, hey, dude, do less of that. He already does less of that. In fact, if someone's going to go talk to him, they should go talk to him and say, dude, you need to wrestle more. Of course, Steve Asplin is his main training partner, and Asplin's got volume for days. Asplin's a big guy, 6'5", and Asplin throws tons of volume, and he's a good at-range kickboxer. So I feel like it's a perfect guy to get ready for Guilherme Pat. You don't want to stand eating punches the entire time, and very much your job's sort of on the line, dude. So go and secure a victory. And that might be the boring way, which is standing cage control, double leg takedowns off the cage, get to half guard, and just hold it down from there. But I think he's live to do those things. So, one more time for old time's sake. I will say, if you want a vintage performance out of him, what he needs to do here, it's the Jamal Pogues fight, right? He gets 9 takedowns. Oh, sorry, Dante Mays. 9 takedowns.
Tall guy. That's what I was going to say. Tall guy.
Another tall guy
who actually had offensive wrestling ability against other people. Hence why we called him D1 Dantale for a couple fights.
Dantale has slick boxing, and he was a training partner of John Jones for like quite some time. In fact, John Jones tore his knee that one time shooting takedowns on Mays in the gym. And then in that fight, Thomas Peterson goes 9 for 9 on takedowns, 100% takedown rate on 9 shots with 13 minutes and 49 seconds of control time, which means there was only 1 minute and 11 spent in the entire fight. Only 1 minute and 11 seconds was Dante Mays allowed to use that range and allowed to use that boxing. That's how you win. His very next fight against Petrino's gassed. He's big. He's a power puncher. He took a different approach, and he got knocked out. Well, do you want to get knocked out again, or do you want to get your hand raised and collect 2 paychecks? Probably that. And so do that. And if he does, he beats Guilherme Pat. If he decides to have a fun, exciting fight, he's live to get knocked out again because it's kind of his style, right? His chin's kind of a blockhead, chin a little bit up in the air, doesn't throw more than 1-2 at a time. And the longer you stay standing, the more danger you're going to run into. But I'm expecting him to do the right thing and just keep this guy chest to chest for as long as you can, kill out the clock, pick up the dub. So it's going to be a Thomas Peterson play for me.
And the last thing I will say, Cody, is if you look at your screen right now,
yes,
we got Thomas Peterson's UFC run here. Win against Cole on Contender Series, loss against Pogues, win against Usman, who just went to ACA,
who also has a wrestling background. That was a good one too. 2 takedowns,
loss against Gaziev, yeah. Win against Mays. The loss against he's due. This guy knows how to not lose back-to-back fights, Paul. That's how he's still here. So, Thomas Peterson, lock of the century. Kidding, but he should be able to get to the hips. We've seen him against tall guys. And yeah, that Pat versus Fry on Contender Series, I saw the same thing. It's just like the standing cage control. He wasn't really able to like break the grips and really do all that much. He just kind of accepted that position. So back this guy up against the cage, drop down, grab a leg, and drag him down to the mat. Hold him down as much as humanly possible. It should be boring, but there's only what 500 to maybe 1,000 people in the venue. Most of them are family and friends. Nobody's gonna boo you that much. It's less likely to get stood up, I would imagine. I don't have any numbers for that, but less likely to get stood up due to a boring fight at the Apex. I guess the next fight up is Jose Delano taking on Robert Ruchala. Delano a minus 350 favorite to come back on. Ruchala plus 285. Who you got here?
I got Jose Delano. When you watch him fight, a lot of his LFA run, it's like the guy's a very accurate striker. He's high volume, but just like he has a very good high accuracy. He's able to land on the target and keeps his feet moving and then just keep that going for the 15 minutes. I do like what I see out of him. A couple career losses, not in a while though. Hasn't just one loss in the last 10 years, that being to Gabriel Santos, who's able to TKO him few years back. But for the most part, I don't think he's got durability issues. I think that he's very fleet-footed, accurate, high volume, and just keep that work rate going. His fight with Abu Muslim Alakhanov, it shows that he's got takedown defense as well. If the game plan is to take him down, I mean, again, he's very mobile. He keeps his feet moving, good footwork all around, and then has a good ability to pop back up if taken down. Stuffs the takedowns there, gets the knockout. His fight on the Contender Series versus Manuel Exposito, he does get taken down twice in that fight as well. 2 on 5 attempts and gives up 39 seconds of control time. But more importantly was that he threw 222 significant strikes and landed 65% of them. Mm-hmm. Again, he's a very accurate volume guy who, if you do take down, he seems to pop right back up. He's not young. He's not old. I think he's 29, right? So right in that point of his career where all the skills are coming together, he's reaching his physical prime. And I do feel like he's able to go out there and kind of make something happen. With Robert Ruchala, if you watch this guy in Poland, he's so tough, man. He's very rugged. He's very tough, but he's a little flat-footed. He's a little bit slow, and I'm just not seeing the volume out of him. His UFC debut against William Gomis. Gomis, in many ways, kind of fights like Delano in that he's very quick, and he's got good footwork. So he uses that jab, he hits you at range, and then as you kind of bull forward, he's not there to be seen anymore. That works extremely well for Gomis, who just kind of hits and then moves, hits and then moves. Ruchala is super tough, and he'll be marching forward the entire time, but he ends up getting hit a little bit more than he's hitting in return. Kind of a lower volume guy, misses on some of these punches, and then tries to rely on a little bit of takedown. He did get 2 takedowns on William Gomis, and he racked up 4.5 minutes of control time. I would imagine that that's the game here too. Cut off the cage, small little apex ring, cut off the cage, get your opponent Delano up against the cage, try to peel him to the ground, try to rack up some control time. But it's hard to get a hold of this guy. It's hard to cut off the cage when he's constantly keeping those feet moving. And then with that high volume, he's going to be the one landing all night. I got to think that the UFC judges, and we've mentioned this many times, is going to be maybe favoring that style of who's landing more, which is Delano. Delano's also shared the cage with good guys in the past that were just as good, if not better wrestlers than a Robert Ruchala, and was able to kind of basically just mind his P's and Q's, keep the fight up, right? Keep those feet moving, keep those strikes flowing out. So Delano's a guy to me that I do think is a legitimate prospect and a guy that's going to have some success, but this is not an easy UFC debut. This is one where you're going to have to mind your P's and Q's and fight a full, complete 15 minutes. But here's my theory on this one. As much as it's a UFC Apex card in Las Vegas, there's 11 Brazilians on the card, and they all get 2 cornermen. So that's 33 Brazilians in the building. And there's only going to be about 47 people in the crowd altogether, which means it's about 2/3 Brazilian. So it might as well be a Brazilian fight night, Paul. Kidding. I'm not betting on all the Brazilians, but Delano's one of them. You know, the few people in attendance will be cheering him on. He'll be landing. The accuracy is a big thing to me. You watch a lot of those LFA fights. It's the same thing. High volume, high accuracy. And I think that's going to carry him through to get the decision victory. I don't think he knocks Ruchala out. I don't think he subs him. This dude's cast iron tough. But you keep him at the end of the jab and you outwork him, you're going to pick up the decision victory in the end.
Has Ruchala been finished?
He's got
I believe
yeah.
he was finished Saladin Pernas, who also on the MVP card.
But important to note that was in the 4th round.
Yeah,
so
100%.
in a 3-round fight, in there
against one of the best guys
in the world.
I mean, what is he not doing in the UFC at this point? He must be asking for too much, and the UFC's being cheap because.
No, do you want to know a super
one of the best
cool
guys
thing
out of
about
the
him?
UFC? No doubt about it.
He makes his KSW contract. He gets paid $600,000 to fight in KSW.
Okay.
Why would you want to fight in the UFC?
100%. Hundo P.
I didn't even think it was real. I thought that was a bullshit number, and I verified it myself, and it was like, oh man, I don't know. I know KSW had that kind of money, but they had given Mamad Khalidov $1 million before. They'd given Marius Putinowski $1 million before. They got some money if you're a big star, and it turns out with Parnas that he'll sell out a stadium. Like, the guy's very, very popular in Europe, and he gets paid very well. So he'd sign with the UFC if they were willing to pay him, but this is the UFC. They can go get a Contender Series guy for $12,000 who will get knocked out. That's what the fans want. They don't want to see beautiful artwork. They don't want to see the best guys in the world. They want to see just sheer violence. What I mean by that is, when you look at Jack Della Maddalena's last fight, right? You're taking on Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev had finished 4 of his last 5 fights going into that one. And everyone says, so boring, cut Islam Makhachev. Okay, well, what about Charles Oliveira? Charles Oliveira just beat Max Holloway, 50-45 him. At the end of it, everyone's saying, oh my God, I thought the point of a BMF belt was he was going to fight. You mean that you're criticizing Charles Oliveira, who's the UFC all-time finish leader and the UFC all-time performance bonus leader, and you're going to say that this guy's a boring fighter? That's what you're going with on this one? The fans are pretty unforgiving, dude. So MVP, I saw the criticism for him. His thing is that all of his fights in the UFC have sucked. His fights in Bellator were good, but he's fighting Evangelista Cyborg Santos. So I get the criticism on that one, but people have a very short term.
Make sense to me.
The guy's the most entertaining, most violent guy you've ever seen, and yet you could still find a way to complain.
And he was trying to finish Max's defense,
like submission attempts in every round, almost choked him out twice.
Yeah, Max's submission defense is the reason why there wasn't a finish. It's not like, and then maybe in the later rounds after they fought for 15 minutes, it's like he'd get to it, and then he didn't go as hard after the sub because, like, I think he probably was like, I don't think I'm gonna get it. Max's submission defense is too good. Sometimes, defense is a little bit too good, but the fans, the casual fans that don't always understand what they're looking at, they're very fickle. They should be watching BKFC.
BKFC,
just want to see, a couple guys off of a meth weekend, just slanging hands. There's other options out there for you.
Put it this way, right? People are still praising Axel Sola versus Mason Jones as fight of the year contender, right? Well, you and I watch One Championship over in the Discord with our boy DSBV every week, okay? There's 3 Axel Solas versus Mason Jones on every card, right? If you want straight violence, small glove Muay Thai is the best.
It's pretty fun, yeah.
And yet nobody watches it, right? It's not a product that really hits any type of metric. And
it airs when most people in North America are at work. That doesn't help.
No, it doesn't help, but it's not like you're seeing highlights on any of these websites that are picking it up. Oh my God, you guys got to see this car crash. Oh my God, you guys like spinning back elbows? Pfft, this is all spinning back elbows. You like these crazy fights that are back and forth, the Thai style of just knockdown after knockdown, and they get back up and they get back at it. Chatri's putting on these 350,000 bot bonuses, which is like $22,000 US, but life-changing money for a Muay Thai fighter in Thailand. That they're all fighting for it. And these guys got 300 fights. They're all Thai champions. Oh, this guy's a Lumphini Stadium champion taking on a Raj Mundurn champion. And this guy's a 3-time European champion taking on... It's all high-class strikers in high-class bang-it-out striking matches. BKFC, it's like, dude, I guarantee you there's going to be 3 lacerations and a broken orbital bone. You in? It's like, they're not in. They don't want to watch it. So... UFC, it's like that seems to be what everybody wants to see, and then guy mixes in a takedown because he's hurt and everyone's crapping on him because he took the easy way out. So I do see the judging trending in the direction of going for the violence, and that's why we're fading a lot of these crotch sniffer types, but there's got to be a fine balance. I need Thomas Peterson to sniff some crotch. That's his win condition. Don't go against the grain. Guys like Rafael Estevam, he does it all the time. They're going to get sick of it. So you got to find that fine balance, I guess.
I mean, it's so inconsistent, right? Because Khamzat Chimaev does that entire style against Dricus, and the promotion praises him as like, what an incredible the promotion went out of their way to to really prop up Khamzat for that performance. But any other fighter does that, Dana goes to the press conference and goes, I don't know if we're gonna sign that guy again. Like, that's just the nature of the business. Dana's probably scared of Kadyrov, and that's why.
I mean, I'm scared.
I would be too. I would not say anything about anybody that Kadyrov would like to. Who he would like to protect, and who he considers his family and friends. They are all right by me. If they by chance have anybody up here in East Coast Canada. I didn't mean what I said.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. We got Alessandro Costa taking on Stewart Nicoll. Costa minus 400 favorite. Nicoll can be had for plus 330. I watched this Nicoll guy on the regional scene, Cody, and I thought that he was going to be okay when he came to the UFC.
Yeah, I hear you there.
Boy, oh boy, was I wrong on this guy. It's tough knowing when guys get to the UFC what to kind of expect from their game, but feels like his wrestling that I thought was there wasn't quite what I thought it was. Obviously, he just the Aguilar submission loss was quite embarrassing because I was quite high on Nicoll in that fight. I was definitely more hesitant against Lucas Roca. Costa, on the other hand, kind of a little bit of a brick, throws crazy hard leg kicks, and that may be enough to get the job done. How does he win this fight? Does he get the KO? Because as fights have extended, he hasn't had too many decision wins over the course of his career. I like Costa, but I don't know if I trust him to lay minus 400. But I'm off the Stewart Nicoll train. I think that's just, not even a prospect because he's a little bit older.
Yeah, he's 31.
Yeah, he's already kind of a finished product, and unfortunately, the product lacks finish. Costa for me, am I gonna let Costa minus 400 ruin my week? I don't think so. Where are you at with this fight?
It's a flyweight fight, so as much as it's like, yeah, Costa's the rightful winner and should be able to cruise on him. Yeah, do you want to put him all the way at the top? Maybe not. It's flyweights. Costa at time can be a little bit lower volume, but yeah, he's got all the skills to win this one to make it look easy. I agree with you 100%. Stewart Nicoll, when he's fighting in Australia, guy looked pretty good. Decent boxing, BJJ black belt, and then at wrestling looks pretty okay. On that UFC debut against Jesus Aguilar, he shoots the takedown right into the guillotine choke. Well, Jesus has got an excellent guillotine choke. That one I give him a pass on. So next one against Luis Roca, he went 2 for 20 on takedown attempts. And by the end, it's like he's not even committing to them. He shoots the slightest sense of resistance, and it's like he just bails on it. No striking, tired, hurt. He made it to decision, but it looked like a gust of wind would have toppled him over on a number of occasions. Lucas Roca absolutely pumped him. Mm-hmm. And so now you got a guy in Alessandro Costa, and I've always maintained this with Costa. He's got a pretty good takedown defense, man. He fought Amir Albazi a couple years ago, where Albazi, who's got pretty good wrestling, went 1 for 4 in takedowns against him. Steve Usyk got him down once. Alden Correa got him down once, but Usyk fought for belt. Alden Correa looks like he's Correa. Going to look like he's pretty solid all-around prospect. Amir Albazi, another guy that was knocking on the top 5 for quite some time. That's the level of guy that can beat him. Anything less than that, I mean, yeah, he's got excellent leg kicks, demobilizes his target, sits down on his punches, heavy power. Does he knock out Stewart Nicoll? I'm not entirely sure, just because I do feel like he carries a lot of muscle around, and I don't think Alessandro Costa really wants to extend himself late into these rounds and be tired. Him versus Albazi, he did get knocked out in the third. by way of him getting tired out. Him versus Steve Erceg, competitive into the third. Erceg starts to pull away a little bit. So I think with that much muscle mass is that he's going to try to just stuff the takedowns and keep it simple. This guy's probably going to shoot a dozen takedowns on you, stuff them. If you can end up in top position, land a little bit of ground and pound, great. If not, separate, land those leg kicks, land those right hands. Stewart Nicoll, unfortunately, doesn't have that big show experience. He doesn't have that ability to make transitions round to round, minute per minute, make those adjustments that are required. And I feel like Costa is just a fire hydrant of a man. Stuff the takedowns, land the bigger shots, back this guy up, win this fight. Don't want to overthink this one. I think Costa is the better play. He's the better guy. And when you're looking at the big favorites on this card, he's not minus 2,000 like Yakhyaev. He's not minus 1,200 like McMillen. He's minus 400. And he does have an opportunity to look just as good as those guys.
Yeah.
So I will admit, Stewart Nicoll was, I wouldn't say he's my guy, but a guy that I thought could win some fights in the UFC. And now I'm backtracking on that. Lucas Roca is not known for his wrestling, man. And so to get him down twice on 20 attempts is just, it's a bad look. Davy Bittencourt took him down 5 times in the Contender Series. Clayton Carpenter took him down twice and choked him out. Stewart Nicoll was shooting from a mile out and not wanting to engage. Felt like he was hurt the whole time. Very, very bad performance. Does he get better? Everybody gets better the more that they do something. But as Paul alluded to, he's 31 years old. This is probably the best version of him. In Australia, on the regional scene, taking on younger guys, well, he's a finished product. But now you take that finished product and you put it at the next level, it just doesn't look like he's going to cut it.
Hundo P. We're on the same page there. Yeah, I mean, minus 400, it's like on this card, at least you can do something with that money line. And Nicoll showed crazy durability, almost too crazy of durability getting to the final belt because there was plenty of opportunity
It looked hurt
to get him out of there. But that would be the problem of playing like a Costa KO.
Yes.
You're really going to have to hope that those leg kicks land flush and the guy's kind of hobbling around out there, which is definitely on the table. But it's only like plus 200 for the KO prop. Could get pretty sweaty down the stretch. So minus 400, I guess it is what it is. You got to find some parlay pieces somewhere because they've made, McMillen and Yakhyaev pretty hard to do anything with those lines. All right, we got Groovy Lando. Groovy Lando taking on Darrius Flowers. Kind of thought both of these guys were done. Was looking over Lando's Instagram earlier today, and I'm like, what has he been like? Why hasn't he been fighting? I really couldn't find any sort of real answer until he was like 12 weeks ago. It was just like, I'm coming back, but like I couldn't really find the reason for like why. Was it injuries? Like he's only 34 now, so he gave up his years from being 31 to 34 to not fight.
Prime career.
I mean, if Lando comes out here, and that's the problem. Here's the thing. I'm sure you're probably thinking. You said earlier in this thing that like if somebody comes out and doesn't wrestle, then this fight could be a lot closer. I feel like this is one of the fights you're talking about because we have seen with Groovy Lando historically. He does have a bit of an offensive wrestling game. He could use that in this fight because Darrius Flowers can't stuff a Thanksgiving turkey, let alone a takedown. But it's Groovy Lando hasn't fought in 3 years. Like he's gonna come out and throw spin and stuff. And if he does that, the fight ends up being a hell of a lot closer. This is a fight that like I want to see guys on the scales before I really actually solidify any sort of bet, but hopefully Lando comes out here. I want to get a win, maybe get a submission, get takedowns, get to them early. Is he going to fight with a good game plan? That's neither here nor there. It's hard to get into the brain and know what Lando is thinking coming into this fight, but Lando's going to be the side for me because like I don't think I would ever bet Darrius Flowers in the UFC against just about anybody. Your thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, I'm super torn on this one. I wanted to take Darrius Flowers. It's a plus money play. You got a Lando Vanata who's most definitely been hurt. Lando Vanata's not fought in 3 years. And I mean, you got a guy that's hurt, hasn't fought in 3 years. He's got a wonky style, man. Like when you look at Lando just on paper, he's got all the makings of a good fighter. He's got good technical striking. He's got this ability to spin on a spinning back fist. His UFC debut short notice against Tony Ferguson and drops Ferguson twice. He fought Bobby Green the first fight. He dropped Bobby Green. Even his fight with Matt Frivola, he scored a 10-8 first round. And he loses the second and the third, and it's a draw. Him versus Bobby Green, very close. The second time they run it back, he gets absolutely slaughtered. He's just not trustworthy. He's not a kind of guy that can fight a full 15 minutes together. The last time he won a fight, he actually looked quite good against Mike Grundy. Split decision win, but, able to keep the fight largely standing and then land a bunch of good shots. But that fight's
almost 5 years ago.
5 years ago. It's the last time he's won a fight. And then you think, okay, well, do we know what he's been hurt with? No, but it was something bad. And I say that because one, he's been off for 3 years. But two, these are the guys he pulled out against. He pulled out against Mike Breeden, and he pulled out against James Lontop. James Lontop was 0-3 in the UFC, got cut.
Can't wrestle.
Mike Breeden was 1-3 in the UFC and got cut. You're pulling out against those guys. It's not a small injury. It's not a nagging injury. You hella busted up. Now, he's been coaching a little bit at a Greg Jackson, Winklejohn, offshoot gym in New Mexico. Again, when you're looking at paper, the guy can strike. He's got big show experience. His cardio is not great, but it's looked okay at times. He also wrestled one semester of D1 wrestling at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. So yeah, the guy's got D1 wrestling. He's a BJJ brown belt. He can strike. He's fought top level guys like Bobby Green and Tony Ferguson. He's got all that back class experience, but his body's just clearly failing him. He had a very regular routine, right? He fought 3 times in 2026, but he fought twice in 2017. He fought twice in 2018. I know I was mixing up those years. And in 2017, twice. 2018, he fought twice. In 2019, he fought twice. In 2020, he fought twice. And then in 2021, he fought once. 2022, he fought once. In 2023, he fought once, going 1-3 over those 3 fights. So he's reduced his number of fights to one per year, and then he takes a 3-year-long gap. So it's injuries. It's compounded injuries. You wrestled in college. You've got 20 pro fights. You fought a bunch of good guys. And a lot of those fights, he gets hurt a whole bunch. He gets busted up. That you just know that you're getting a reduced version of him. Now, how do you beat Darrius Flowers? He 100% wrestle, but Lando really doesn't offensively wrestle all that much. And for Flowers, the guy's not good. I mean, he is a pro boxer, but I just want to make sure I got this 100%. His pro boxing record is 1-10. That's his pro boxing record for Darrius Flowers, is 1-10. So what's he do well? Well, he's got a good strength and conditioning program. He apparently does strength and conditioning 3 times a day. And yeah, he's aggressive. He gets in your face and he throws down. But Jake Matthews, he has a good first round. Then Matthews takes him down, chokes him out. Against Michael Johnson, he had a good first round. Second round, Johnson's like, dude, even my junior college wrestling background is good enough to get this guy down, and took him down 4 times. And then against Evan Elder, he was actually doing okay against Evan Elder as well. And then Elder takes him down. It's a weird one. He actually takes Elder down. Elder hits a sweep, ends up on top, grabs a head and arm choke. He actually went for a leg lock. That caused the sweep, gets on top, grabs the arm triangle. So point being is that Flowers actually looks kind of okay in all those fights until he makes that one mistake. And Lando's a guy that's got a very groovy style. Sure. I mean, he leads you left and then boom, there's a spinning back fist to the right. He can land that head kick up top. He can cause you to make a mistake and capitalize on it. But I just don't like the current form, being that we don't really know where his head's at. We really don't know where his body's at. Paul mentioned wait until you see weigh-ins. I completely agree. And then Landon Vanata is kind of an action guy. Does he want to go in with the game plan of get takedowns? If he does get the takedowns, well, Jake Matthews choked him out. Evan Elder choked him out. When was the last time Lando Vanata had a submission victory? He's not submitted anybody since 2014. So it's been 12 years since he's choked anybody out. And yet he's going to take down and submit Darrius Flowers?
Marcus Mariano.
Oh, yes, Anderson Silva's buddy. Yeah. How could I forget that little Kimura?
And is Marcus Mariano horrible? Yes, but is Darrius Flowers one of the worst guys? Yeah, potentially.
I just feel like you got a guy in Lando whose UFC record is 4 wins, 7 losses, 2 draws. How many guys got 2 draws in the UFC? Well, that's Lando in a nutshell. He 10-8s you, and then he loses the second and third round. Now he's coming off a 3-year-long layoff. Do you think his cardio got better? Do you think his consistency has gotten better? Do you think anything really has gotten all that better? I'm not entirely sure. Flowers, meanwhile, it's like the devil you know versus the devil you don't. He's not fought in 2 years himself. But he had a little stronger body of work. He was fighting a little more actively. In all of his losses, there's at least a round that you can point to where he landed some okay shots. Michael Johnson took him down because he realized this guy can, in fact, strike. And he is aggressive, and he does come forward. And it's all just reasons that you don't want to bet a minus 210 on Lando Vanata. I think Vanata is the favorite. I think Vanata should win the fight. But at 2-1 for a guy that's been off this long, has battled a lot of injuries, there's a lot of
question marks.
Yeah, and I've saw some interviews on him where he's talking about his headspace and the confidence, and he felt disrespected by Greg Jackson and Mike Winklejohn, so he left the gym, and then has basically been training himself, and then start working with some other guys that didn't like the gym either. He's mostly been coaching himself, running the team, trying to, I'm sure, get healthy. And now it's like, hey, you've not fought for 3 years. Does the UFC just cut you at some point? Do you just retire at some point? Or is at some point you got to take a fight? This is him taking the fight, but do you feel confident in it? Probably not. Then I come back to what Paul says. Well, do you want to bet Darrius Flowers? Is Darrius Flowers a 1-in-10 pro boxer who's 0-3 in the UFC? Is this the kind of guy that you want to put your money behind? Or was a smart guy just going to avoid this thing altogether like the plague? Probably just avoid this thing, but got to make a pick one way or another. And Vanata has historically been the better fighter with the better well-rounded game plan. Not game plan, he's got no game plan. The more well-rounded skill set that if he had a game plan, he might be able to actually apply it. But he's just so goddamn untrustworthy. So I'm going to take Lando, but
I'm taking a little Lando sub plus 370, which is available to me right now.
Lando sub, crazy. I don't know, man.
And just hope that he fights smart. But it's not going to be not a heavy play, but take the path of least resistance, Lando. Try to get that finish because that's the easiest path against Darrius Flowers.
If he comes out like groovy Lando, he will make a mistake. But if he comes out like Lando Calrissian, then I think he can cruise himself to one. But we're not going to know. And like Paul said, wait till weigh-ins because you can at least see, is this guy hurt, not running the road, or is this guy motivated, in good shape, and ready to go? Is Flowers soft? Flowers is always a little bit soft, but is he going to come in motivated? There's certain guys like that. We'll talk about Trishan Gore in a couple fights from now, but Trishan Gore is a guy that realizes his back's up against the wall, realizes he's about to get cut, and boy is taking this fight very seriously and is in very good shape. Maybe we'll find out come Friday about the kind of shape that Lando and his counterpart Darrius Flowers are in, but this is as low as it gets for a UFC level fight, man.
I wouldn't expect Lando to come in looking shredded or anything like that. Never really, jacked in that sense.
Anyway. I would expect MVP to say, yeah, we don't think we're going to put this on our card. So, this is UFC level stuff in 2026.
100p. All right, we got Dione Barbosa taking on Melissa Gatto, minus 127 for Dione Barbosa. Comeback on Gatto, plus 107. Do you have a take? I don't have much of one here.
I do have Melissa Gatto. I think Melissa Gatto is a decent fighter. I really do. The thing is that she's not fought in 2 years. So it's a lot of it is you're just assuming that she's made improvements and you're assuming that this girl is trending in the right direction, but she's still only 29. I think that's the difference between her and someone like Lando. Lando's 34. His physical prime is gone. You're getting a reduced version of him, whereas Gatto could take 2 years off. And I've been on the record many times in the past saying these Brazilian fighters who are not old, when they take 2 years off, it's for the best. They'll come back as much better versions of themselves. And Gatto's that. When you look at her debut against Victoria Leonardo, easy fight, right? And she does exactly that. She gets a knockout win, solid. Sinjara Eubanks. Sinjara Eubanks is a BJJ black belt under Lloyd Irvin. Second round, Eubanks gets the takedown. Gatto with a one butterfly hook, sweeps, gets on top. She can grapple. Tracy Cortez. She took down Tracy Cortez 3 times. Mm-hmm. She swept Tracy Cortez. That's actually a very good fight that you could score either way. It's very back and forth. It's all grappling. This girl does not accept the bottom position. She throws up arm bars. She'll grab your leg. She'll try to set up a triangle choke. She'll create space and pop right back up again. Cardio doesn't seem to slow down. Fights long, good body kicks, excellent teeps straight up the middle, can punch rangy, keeps, fully extends that right hand. I think there's something to like there. The Ariana Lipski fight, it's the same thing. She loses, but it's a split decision. MMA Decisions is split on it as well. You can make a solid argument for both girls. And again, Gatto outstruck her 85-66 overall, just, not enough to get the victory. Lipski's not bad. Tracy Cortez is not bad. And they're thin margins. You're not getting wiped out. You're not getting 30-27. It's just slim margins. Now, she takes on Tamiris Vidal. And in that fight, it's total domination. She wins the first round pretty easily. The second round, she gets the takedown fairly easily. The third round, she ends up getting the TKO. But that fight's at 135 pounds, which is why she kind of looked a little slower in my opinion. Now that's 2 years off, and she's coming back down to 125. At 29 years old, she still hasn't even entered her physical prime quite yet. She is the longer, rangier, better striker. Her takedowns ability isn't really not bad. It's her scrambling abilities aren't bad. She just doesn't sit there and accept the position, and that's where Dione Barbosa needs you. She needs to get her own wrestling going, take you down, and then hopefully you're just going to accept that position. Her wins over Rain Guerrero, Ernesta Karakite, and Diana Balbita, neither of those girls know how to wrestle. So taking them down and controlling them is probably a little bit easier. The fights with Miranda Maverick and Carini Silva, it's like she does get takedowns, but, her opponents scramble to get back up. Carini Silva, there's a triangle choke in the second round, gives the second round to Carini. Maybe it's the first round. Watched so many of these fights back that it's like, first, second round, doesn't matter. But the triangle choke attempt is what wins her the round. The third round, she's winning. And then a Darce choke attempt steals the round for Carini. A lot of people complain they thought Dione Barbosa won that fight, but it's the submission attempts from killer Carini Silva that do more in the judges' scorecards. You can't just take someone down and hold them down, land 30 significant strikes over 15 minutes, and then say you've dominated. She's also 33 years old. She's a little bit slower. She's a little more plodding. If this is a striking battle, Gatto's got her number. If she can use that physical clench to take Gatto down, that's fine. But one, Gatto's fought at 135 her last appearance, so she's not exactly a small girl herself. She's also had 2 years to fill out and mature in a lot of different areas that I think will help her improve. But also, if you take her down and she's throwing up arm bars and she's scrambling and she's getting back up, and then she goes back to resuming winning these striking exchanges, judges are going to favor her. She's slight underdog, and it's a total CF dot model for me, baby. I think Gatto wins regardless. But if I can get plus money on her in a close fight that's going to go to decision, I think more often than not, the judges end up scoring it for her based on damage and, maybe some submission attempts and just the overall higher work rate. 4 years younger, the 2 years off, I think will have helped her improve. Not someone that was gassing out in any of her fights prior, so not something I'm worried about here. And with Dione Barbosa, she really needs to fight that slower pace. Again, with Carini, too, you look at Carini's last fight against Macy Barber, it makes you wonder how good is Silva to begin with. And Dione she felt like she got robbed in that fight. She's all upset. She had won against Carini Silva on the regional scene and then loses in the UFC. It's just you're not seeing any real type of improvement out of her. She is who she is, which is try to get some takedowns, try to rack up some control time, slow the clock down, kill the clock, essentially, slow the fight down, and then try to scrape it up. And in the apex where they're looking for the damage, I think that Gatto is going to be doing exactly that. So it's Gatto by decision for me.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Makes almost too much sense. Azamat Bakoyev takes on Trishan Gore. Bakoyev, a minus 650 favorite. Come back on Gore, plus 475. Where are you at with this one?
You don't want to be betting Bakoyev minus 650, man. That is the trap of the week. I'm not saying he can't win. He's fighting Trishan Gore, but at the same time, Bakoyev is not good. He's not good, and he is a minus 650 favorite.
I feel like that loss to Belagri looks less bad. But we talked about Bakoyev a whole bunch, in the lead up. It's like there's other fights, like his early run in the UFC, the wins over Reese and Loader looked good. But if you went back to his time in the LFA, he had that Budka fight was a stinker.
Yeah.
There was a lot of bad tape in that Budka fight that you knew the wheels were going to fall off. But the Belgari fight, in hindsight, That guy's a bad. Like, he's good, man. Belgari could go places with that frame, takedown defense, and cardio. He's got a lot of potential. Sorry to cut you off.
No, not at all, man. I mean, I see the early portion. It's like, okay, so what's this whole thing? It's like, well, he is Dagestani, and he trains at American Top Team. He's only 30 years old. Well, he says he's 30 years old. I'm not entirely convinced on that personally, but he's an anti-wrestler because he has heavy hands and he does come from a wrestling background. Is that he wants you to shoot on him. He will stuff the takedown and he'll land some big ground and pound. Dylan Bucker wrestled in college. That's an okay fight for him. Zach Reese is shooting takedowns. Bukov stuffs it. He ends up at his open guard. Punch, 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 done. Him versus Ryan Loder. Ryan Loder's a former All-American wrestler. In fact, his only game is wrestle. He shoots on Bukov. Bukov stuffs it. Bukov knocks him out. Bukov then goes on record and says, I want to fight Torrence Finney. Well, why do you want to fight Torrence Finney? Because Finney was only shooting takedowns, really can't strike. That's where Bukov thrives. That Yusri Balgari fight, it wasn't that, yet Yusri is really not bad. It's that Bukov is forced to now shoot. He's got to be the one that offensively wrestles because Balgari's not going to shoot a takedown on you. He's 6'6". He's a rangy kickboxer. So now the onus is on you to come forward and shoot on him. And that's where it dawned on me. Bukov doesn't really seem to have big cardio. Him versus Zach Reese, he knocks him out in the first round. Him versus Ryan Loder, he knocks him out in the first round. Him versus Yusri Balgari, the longer this thing goes, he absolutely gasses out. Now, you got the numbers in front of you, right? So you can go per round for that Balgari fight. The first round, Bukov got 3 for 5 on takedowns. He shot 5 takedowns in the first round and got 3 of them. Well, in the second round, he only shoots 2 of them and gets 1. And then in the third round, he only shoots 1 and doesn't get it. His gas tank just absolutely falls apart because it's easier for him to stuff the takedown and land that big right hand than it is for him to be the one actively trying to come forward and engage, right? I wouldn't say that Tresean Gore is good by a country mile. I really would not. I do not rate this guy in the slightest bit. But what I will give him is that in his fight with Rodolfo Vieira's last time out, Rodolfo went 1 for 14 on takedowns on him. Tresean Gore's takedown defense looked mighty fine in that fight. Stuffed all of them almost, for the most part. It's that he's so worried about the takedown coming, he doesn't let his hands go. And as a result, he gets doubled up by Rodolfo Vieira in more or less a striking match. It's never a good look. Marco Tullio is a big volume guy that can fight for 15 minutes. Rodolfo is an experienced guy that was able to keep it up for that time. If Azamat Bukov shoots 12 takedowns or 14 takedowns the way that Rodolfo did, he's going to gas.
Or he's going to run into the guillotine.
Nah, there's no... I mean, yeah, it's possible. I don't think he's going to
Gore's got that guillotine. That's about all that Gore's really got going for him at the UFC level.
Let me see. Tresean Gore. Yeah, well, because he's a strong physical guy, if he grabs the neck, sure. My biggest problem with Bukov is that Bukov is a low-volume guy. People don't realize that because in the Zach Reese fight, he lands like 21 significant strikes in 3 minutes. Against Ryan Loder, he lands about the same, 24 significant strikes in 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. When he's knocking you out in the first round, sure, he'll put it on. If he's forced to land for a second round in a third round, the wheels fall off, man. He all of a sudden gets very gun-shy, waiting on big power punches more than establishing a jab, more than establishing leg kicks, more than establishing combinations. He's there to blow it for you, right? His last time out against Yusuf Belgari, he's a minus 300 favorite. It looks awful, loses, and now they're feeding him to you at minus 650. Well, I understand. Belgari's pretty good, and Tresean Gore, not exactly, but check out Tresean Gore on... Well, you can bring up his Instagram, I suppose. When you see a lot of the stuff he's posting online, it's like he's pretty good shape. He's a physically strong guy, and he showed against Rodolfo Vieira's last time out that he can stuff takedowns. If he stuffs these takedowns, he's a low-volume power puncher taking on a low-volume power puncher. That it ain't going to play out Bukov minus 650. Bukov may still win. But Bukov minus 650, you ain't getting anything out of it. Alessandro Costa's only minus 400. That's a much better line, in my opinion, than Bukov at this current price. So I don't want to back Tresean Gore on the basis of he's no good. He's 5-4 overall as a pro. That's his pro record is 5 wins and 4 losses, and he's somehow cutting it in the UFC. The guy should have been cut a long time ago. He should have gone back to the regional scene. He should have won fights, got his confidence back up, and then maybe potentially had a a second run at some point down the road. But instead, they've just kept him around, given him these types of fights, and hope that he's going to come through at some point. It's just, it ain't working for him. I just feel like it's a giant trap this week that you're waiting to fall into. And I watched a lot of tape on Gore this week just to make sure. He only has a left hook. He has no real jab. He's got no real right hand. He pulls his right hand short. He doesn't throw his jab very frequently. He literally just sets down his left hook, but he's got some power in it. So you got left hook versus Tresean Gore versus the straight right hand by Yakhyaev. Which one lands first? Who knows? But again, it's more so than just you got to flash knock this guy out and use puncher's chances. You got to just make this guy work and get him to a second round, get him to a third round. Then he's going to start to tire. Once he tires, the volume falls off. His danger falls off. He's not actively looking to wrestle you the longer it goes. So yeah, make him work heavy in the first. Give him the lead leg. Let him shoot. Let him push you into the fence. Let him overexert himself. Dylan Butka with like 4 pro fights held this guy to a split.
Yeah.
Stuff the takedowns, tire him out, and you'll see he's low volume. If he doesn't get the quick knockout, that's when he falls off. Now for Gore, I'm not going to fault him Tulio. Tulio hit him 123 significant times before he crumpled over. It's the Cody Brundridge knocked him out in the first round. I don't love that one. But Brundridge sits down, big overhand right, chucks it. Bukov's going to do the same thing. You got to learn from your mistakes. Don't sit there. Don't get hit. Don't stay stationary the first 5 minutes. And if you can make him carry a heavier workload, he'll fade away. So I'm going to take Bukov. I just wanted to make note that at minus 650, he's not even on the top 3 lines. He's damn near the bottom. Second thing is, I'm looking for a live betting opportunity that if Gore can get to the second round and you can see Bukov start to slow, this thing's going to end up being a split decision. This thing's going to end up being close. It's going to be a lot more competitive than you think. We see it week in, week out. There's a guy that's supposed to get knocked out in the first round, and then when that doesn't materialize, the rounds 2 and 3 end up being a lot closer. I'm not saying Gore can replicate what Belgrui did. He's not the same guy. He's not 6'6". He doesn't have a world-class striking acumen. He doesn't train with Alex Pereira and Glover Teixeira. He's not that guy. But this is a Belgrui that was making his UFC debut, was a 3-1 betting underdog, and was expected to have no ground game, taking on a guy from Dagestan. And even he was able to stuff the takedowns and tire this guy out. So it's there to happen, man. Just don't be this. Don't let Bukov be the guy that ruins your entire week just because you clicked on him because he was minus 650 and supposed to win. When you look at him, you'll see he's unimpressive. There's a good chance that he was on the juice on the regional scene, and now that he's not on it, he can't fight 5 rounds like he did against Butka. He can't fight into a second round against like he did against Chauncey Foxworth and knock him out. He seems to be a little more needs to get it done in the first, or his body starts to fall apart ever so slightly. Being an anti-grappler, stuff the takedowns, that's all well and good, but they got to be feeding you grapplers. And Tresean Gore is not really going to be offensively shooting that much as he's going to be just trying to line you up. So he knows his job's on the line. He knows he really needs this really bad. And I think when you're Bakoev and they give you a guy that's 5-4, who's lost his last 2 fights, you're a minus 650 favorite on him, do you wake up and run the 5 miles in the morning? Do you put in that extra strength and conditioning class? Do you do that extra session? Do you push yourself as hard as you can? No, this guy's a bum. I'm supposed to beat him. So you overlook him. He's not overlooking you. This is his Super Bowl. This is his one chance to go out there and potentially save his employment. And so he's going to treat it as such, and that just makes him a dangerous man in general. So this one's a lot more narrative than it is. Well, no, I mean, I watched plenty of tape. I'm underimpressed by Bakoev. I'm also underimpressed by Tresean Gore, but
it's a tough guy to click.
Yeah, I wouldn't
I tried
more than minus 340, minus 350, but it's minus 650. No way, dude. Just do not do it.
I tried to get the dog to start barking there, which I don't know if it would have actually worked for our theory, but she wouldn't take the bait. She wouldn't take the bait. She came down here when we started talking about Gatto. And then she left and then came back. I was trying to get her to get all worked up, but she didn't bark. So the dogs are not barking on Tresean Gore, unfortunately. I mean, he's 5-4. It was because of a decent run in the tough house that got him here. But I always kind of thought this guy he's kind of a tweener, right? I don't know if he's big enough to be fighting middleweights, and that's who he's fighting, you know? I thought he was more of a welterweight. And like I just looked through his Instagram, it's just like he looks a little bit more toned. Looks a little bit more toned than he did like a year ago. But like it's nothing He's not some sort of massive force by any stretch of the imagination. What is score by sub? If you want to get really, really silly, probably isn't going to happen. But
this is a great. Hey, let me tell you this one though.
I mean, I'm only human.
So this is and talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. But here's a great Trayshawn Gore post. I'm pissed off right now just because of the fact I'm sick of being slept on, looked past, talked down on. I've committed everything to this sport and trust in God, and I will make a name for myself, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. The truth is, for the last couple fights, I was undisciplined. I have cut everything out, and I feel was hindering me drastically. I finished practice today at almost 205 pounds. That's lighter than I've ever been outside of a camp in 3 years. You don't gotta like me, but you for sure go respect me. Hashtag it's my time. I ain't betting no minus 650, but go. That's all I'm saying. All right. So do with that what you will.
Yeah. Sound advice. All right. Next up, we got Alice Pereira taking on Haley Cowan. Alice Pereira, who you may remember as being the Brazilian shopping mall champion of the world, minus 130. Cowan plus 110. We faded Pereira, who got unreasonable amount of hype, I think, coming into that Rendon fight. Yeah. She held her own pretty well, and Rendon wasn't really able to get much wrestling going, but it's like, it's because like this girl kind of reached out to Mick Maynard, correct?
Yeah.
Like that's essentially how she got her job in the UFC, because it's like you watch her regional level stuff and it's literally in a Brazilian shopping mall versus some girl from the delicatessen department at the grocery store nearby. Like you're like, why are these fights even getting built? That's not to say that it's 2005, so she's 21 years old. There is lots of time to get good, but like her being December 20th, 2005, like it's whatever, close enough. There's potential long term. I just think she's in the UFC far too long. Can Haley Cowan, who is definitely not a high level competitor in the UFC, can she go out there? Can she hold this fight up against the cage? Make it ugly? Maybe get some takedowns? Potentially. For me, it would be Cowan or pass. I just don't know if I hate myself to lose money on this fight. Do you hate yourself to lose money? Hate yourself enough to lose money on this fight?
Yeah, I do. Well, I mean, yeah, no, your smartest path here is just avoid it altogether. What do you need action on this thing for? But yeah, in the spirit of we are making picks on all of it, and the PRP is going to include at least one of them. I guess I kind of went with, is it Alice or Elise? I kind of always butcher the name either way, but I'll go with Alice Pereira. She's much longer. I mean, she's got a better striking acumen. She does a really good job of throwing these little uppercuts as you try to wade in. And then against Rendon, the first round, I thought she looked fine. The second round, all of a sudden, Rendon's like, I'm just going to start fighting like a Mexican and move forward. And that's where you see Pereira she goes tall girl defense, stands straight up, gets pushed towards the cage, stuffs the takedowns. But all of a sudden, is that the shorter fighter throwing these overhands constantly, spamming overhands constantly, starts to get to her. The difference in that fight, though, and from what I expect to see here, is that when you look at Pereira versus Rendon, let me just bring up the exact number here. Once Rendon was like, I got to start doing something, Rendon threw 166 significant strikes, only landed 27% of them, but she decided to just go YOLO mode. I can't get the takedown. And I'm a high level. I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I'm a 10th planet girl. My game's predicated on getting the fight to the ground. I went 0 for 5 on takedowns. This girl at the time was 19 years old. Comes from a Muay Thai background, has Muay Thai experience, not known for her grappling. She went 0 for 5. So she says, I'm just going to go YOLO mode. Through 166 significant strikes, landed 45, and those end up being the damaging blows. That's the difference. Haley Cowan doesn't have that same mentality. Haley Cowan was a former gymnast at the University of Baylor. So she's an athletic girl, but in terms of her MMA career, she's big. She's really not that athletic. She's good in the clinch. She fights to the clinch. Outside of the clinch, there's mostly one and done striking. Snap out a 1, snap out a 1-2, maybe throw a kick, and then try to bully into the clinch. Jamie Lee Horth is very slow as well. So she gets into the clinch, but Horth lands the more shots, the more damaging blows. Horth wins the fight. It's a close fight. It's competitive. It comes down to the third round. Horth ends up on top off a bad Cowan shot, finishes the round like that, wins the fight. Her versus Nora Cornoli, it's the same thing. She goes in. She doesn't actually shoot the takedown on Nora in the first. Nora tries to grapple her, presses her up against the cage, and she hits a quick little reverse trip on Nora, ends up on top, grabs the back, lands no strikes, fishes for a rear naked choke that she doesn't get. Second round, it's like she just shells up. Nora gets a takedown on her. Here's a French Muay Thai girl, not known for her grappling, all of a sudden takes you down, takes your back, and Haley Cowan barely fights the hands off. She's 34 years old. She ain't getting any better. She's not good to begin with. Versus a kid that made her debut in the UFC at 19. Yeah, not a great performance, don't get me wrong, but Rendon was able to say, okay, I can't get her down. Let me use my secondary skill, which is I'm just going to spam punches and move forward. I don't think Haley Cowan does that. When Haley Cowan comes forward, she dips her head, which is going to leave her open to the uppercut. At range, it should be Pereira. And then if you do get the clinch, because again, I'm not going to discredit Haley Cowan. She's physically strong in the clinch. But without the takedown, what are you going to do? Just hold her up against the cage the entire time? That's not how Haley Cowan fights. At some point, it's like, yeah, we got to scrap a little more here. And at that point, it's going to be Pereira landing the better shot. So it should be even money. It should be a 50-50 type fight. Cowan, because she's had a little more experience, should maybe be the slight favorite is what I would expect. It's not the case. Pereira's a slight favorite. I do agree with that. I think that she's slightly a little ahead in the striking game. She's got that length, that teep kick up the middle, and then just feed her these shots on her way out. Move laterally. Get out of there. If she holds you up against the cage, that's fine. Just don't accept too much time there positionally. When it comes down to the judges' scorecards, which, let's be real, this thing's likely going to judges' scorecards. When it gets there, just hope that they're looking for the little more activity and the little more damage done. The other thing is that if you're looking at it strictly on, we know Haley Cowan's not good, and at 34, she's likely going to come into this fight also not good. Whereas Pereira, also not good. She's 19. Now she's 20. You know, she's going to be 21. She's going to be 22. Did Mick sign her a little too early? Yes. But is this girl capable of making improvements fight to fight and coming out as a better version? Sure. And a slightly better version than what we saw the last time against Rendon probably does beat Haley Cowan. So it's going to be Pereira for me.
One of the better fights of on the card, in my opinion, was added super late to it. So I don't know exactly about like preparations, everything like that. Obviously, weigh-ins could be kind of important. But two guys that we're pretty familiar with from breaking down the regional scene for the last year. And obviously Kai Kamaka making his return to the UFC. He's been to the PFL. He's been around the block. And I would say his ceiling has been kind of capped at this point. Whether that's fair or not, who knows? But he's minus 155 favorite. Dakota Hope can be had for plus 135. Hope on a nice little run. The wrestling grappling game of his seemed to have come quite a long way. He carries a lot of muscle into the cage. Historically, Kamaka doesn't have the greatest takedown defense. I was watching him versus Brandao. Maybe Brandau's too old for them to re-sign, but like that was not a great performance by Kai Kamaka whatsoever. I know that we all love Brandao over in the Bookie Beatdown Discord because he cashed for us at a crazy big number in that spot right there. But Kai's very vanilla, like his game is very, I wouldn't say he's great at anything particular. He doesn't have too much power. I think Dakota Hope's just gonna be able to take him down, control him at will, use that muscle, and can over and over and over. And I think this is a guy who's kind of trending in the right direction. I know he took on Jeremy Henry, and honestly, Jeremy Henry might be one of the worst wrestlers on the regionals. So, like, having that game plan against, or that style against Jeremy Henry, don't get me wrong. There's nothing all that important about it, but being able to do it against Damian Nelson and land some decent strikes on the feet as well. This Gomez guy, maybe not as well known, but I don't know. I feel like Dakota Hope's a guy heading in the right direction, and he's got a path to victory that could work for him here. So Hope for me as the small underdog. What about you?
I actually went with Kai Kamaka on this one. Kai Kamaka's got a lot of experience, man. Like you said, he's returning to the UFC. He's 31 years old. Trains at Extreme Couture with a lot of good guys in the sport. But really, this is crazy. Is that he's 6-1 for Bellator. He's 1-2-1 in the UFC. He's 2-1 in PFL. He's 1-0 in LFA. He's fought everywhere, you know? He's fought for the number 1 promotion in the world, the number 2 promotion in the world, the number 3 promotion in the world, the number 4 promotion in the world. Is that he's capable of competing at that high level. There was a guy back in the day. Well, my boy Jeff Curran was my guy back in the day, and he lost a lot of fights. But my biggest thing with Jeff Curran is that he fought in the UFC, he fought in the WEC, he fought in Bellator, he fought in Strikeforce, he fought in the IFL, he fought in Pride. He's one of these guys that was capable of going wherever and hanging, but yeah, not necessarily getting the biggest wins. Kai Kamaka only got cut from the UFC for one reason only. He's a decision guy. All of his wins are by decision. His career starts out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He had 7 straight decision victories, right? And then they cut him. He beats John DeJesus by decision. He goes over to Bellator, Adley Edwards decision, Henry Corrales decision. PFL signs him, 3 straight decisions. And then with Tough Enough, he fought 2 of 3 to decision. And then finally, his last time out against Michelle Lima, he gets a knockout. And it's like, okay, fine. You know what? This guy can hang. He's a capable fighter, and he finally got a knockout win. We're going to bring him back. But yeah, I honestly think that he's had a lot more experience. Keep in mind, he's got a win over Henry Corrales. He's got a win over Bubba Jenkins. He's got a win over Pedro Carvalho. His loss to Brendan Lucane, it's a split decision. Like, he's fought some decent guys. You mentioned his fight with Diego Brandao.
That was a bad fight. Brandao's freaking old and broken at this point, man. Like,
the guy's a bona fide winner, man. He knows how to win. He's on a 3-fight winning streak, all of which were title fights.
Kai's UFC run was pretty horrible, man. Like, look at these guys. It's just like he's just having close competitive. TJ Brown, Jonathan Pierce. These are not high-level guys in the UFC. Tony Kelly went like life or death with Tony Kelly. Great. None of these guys really hung around the UFC.
Well, I mean, I give him a pass on the Jonathan Pierce fight because, like, when JSP's on, Dina's actually pretty good. He got 5 takedowns and ended up punching him out. So that wasn't a great performance, right? TJ Brown, he loses a split. Brown got 2 takedowns on him, but only had like 38 seconds of control time. Danny Chavez, they fight to a draw. None of it's good. You're right. But to me, it's like, what has he done since then? Well, Bubba Jenkins is a college wrestler, and Henry Corrales is an absolute junkyard dog. And a lot of these fights are close. That's the nature of him. Want to know a crazy stat on him?
Since he went to Tough Enough, he's been a -1,000 favorite every single fight. And he lost to Diego Brandao as a -1,000 favorite.
A couple things there, right? Thing number 1, if that fight was only a 3-rounder against Brandao, he would have won. It was a 5-rounder, and Brandao ended up coming back strong the last couple rounds.
If my aunt had a
ball
pee-pee,
sack,
she'd be my uncle.
This is true. Kai Kamaka's last 4 losses are all by split decision, right? When was the last time someone beat him clean? Was JSP, like you said. And JSP beat him 6 years ago. Since then, the guys that have beaten him have exclusively beaten him by split decision, which means these fights are close. They are competitive. You got to kind of out-edge him. And what I see in the Diego Brandao fight is that Brandao shot a bunch of takedowns and he stuffed them. In the 3rd round of that fight, Brandao sits on his ass up against the cage. It looks like he's done. Kamaka's smashing him. Doesn't get this TKO stoppage and ends up losing the fight by split decision. But again, it's like his striking is better than Dakota Hope's. His takedown defense is good enough to stuff the takedowns against Dakota Hope and eventually just edges this thing out. Maybe it's a split decision. Reason I'm not taking Hope, couple reasons, right? 1, Hope was supposed to fight for the Fury FC title, he's the champ there. He was supposed to defend his title on May 17th, which is 6 weeks away. So he just started camp. And now the UFC says, hey, would you rather fight in the UFC than Fury? Of course. So now you're taking a fight where you're 6 weeks short. And I don't think he's got great cardio.
Who was
You
Justin
mentioned
Vasquez? Who he was? Kai was supposed to fight Justin Vasquez at Tough Enough 153. When's that?
I'm not sure. Let me bring it up. He was supposed to fight. No, I don't think. I don't know. I don't see him as
Tough
having a
Enough
fight.
153.
Didn't that just pass?
Yeah, it did just pass. But I guess he dropped off this card.
Right. So he was going to fight. UFC says, you know what? We'll re-sign you. So he re-signs. Now he's getting ready to compete in the UFC. Dakota Hope's coming in as a short notice
supposed to
guy.
be at the end of the month. So April 24th is when he was supposed to. So he was supposed to fight in a month too. So cool.
Yeah, maybe there's no edge there, but again, you got to watch the tape on Dakota Hope. Okay, everything he does is extremely explosive. He doesn't throw straight punches; it's all hooks from the hip side. Okay, he'll often burn himself out. His fight with David Bosnick, if you've watched that one back, it's his lone career loss. Is that in the first round? Damn, this dude throws a 10-punch combination, all of which are hooks, power hooks. The second round, halfway through the second round, he's absolutely gassed. It is a 5-round fight, I get it, but halfway through the second round, he's done because everything he throws is very powerful. He talks about how, oh, you know what, man, we got 2 UFC vets in camp with me. My head coach, Daniel Pineda, UFC vet, and we brought in Rafael Alves. I'm working with 2 UFC vets. Okay, well, Kai Kamaka trains Extreme Couture with 15 UFC vets. Furthermore, you watch the Damian Nelson fight. The second round, he gets floored with a straight right hand, legs wobble, hits the deck, gets back up. He gets stiffed with a straight kick to the body where he shits his pants. And then all of a sudden, he's hurt, makes it to the third round. Winner. Standing cage control. Yeah, standing cage control is the name of the game. He is physically strong. We're taking a shoey bet on this one all day long, but this guy's about to get
Gabby was barking up there. She said the dogs are barking on this.
Oh, if Gabby was barking,
you're going to be rebuilding. You're going to be rebuilding the PRP with Kai Kamaka. I don't know if I want to beat you in a shoey bet on.
Do you have a line? I'm not short notice. Do you got a line on split decision? Because I mean, that's the name of the game.
I think this fight was added too late for those props to be up, but I'll look it up on.
I'm going to count Kai Kamaka's split decisions right now. He's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's had 5 split decisions and a draw in his career. So
yeah, I don't really want to have a shoey bet. We're back to even on this one, so we'll wait for another opportunity.
So you don't love Dakota Hope, then?
No, I'm trying to mess with you a little bit.
No, that's okay. I honestly didn't think that you were going to be on him just because
I don't really like Kai Kamaka's game. I think he's kind of like a pillow-fisted generalist, which may be enough to win this fight, but the physicality of Dakota Hope, I think, is the most dominant aspect of either one of these guys, if that makes any sort of sense.
Yeah, honestly, during COVID, Dakota Hope fought a guy that's like, lives like an hour from me. His name's Pat Connors. I think he's 6-8 now. He's 3-2 at the time. And it went into the 5th round. And at that point, I was like, this Dakota Hope guy's 5-0, and Pat Connors is awful. And like, it went to the 5th round. But all he did was just hold the guy down. So I've followed him since then, and I'm really not impressed. Personality-wise, this is the nicest dude you will ever meet in your life. How could you? He's a very, very humble, very polite, very respectful. I like him. But as terms of the fight style goes, yeah, he's 29. I'm sure he's still adding new wrinkles to his game. I mentioned that he doesn't throw straight punches. His last couple, he's been starting to throw a little straighter down the middle. Good right hand, but he gets over emotional. He's sometimes hyper aggressive and burns himself out. He seems way too predicated on getting takedowns, and I feel like there's a vet lesson incoming for him. So for me, it's Kai Kamaka in this one.
All right. Well, we are just about out of time, but before we go, Codes, hit him with the PRP.
It's a greasy one this week, but we're going to go with Chris Duncan, Tabatha Ricci, Abdulrakhman Yakhyaev. There's nothing greasy about that one. He should roll. Ethyn Ewing, basically even money. Tommy McMillen, another big favorite. Jose Delano, Thomas Peterson, Alessandro Costa. Lando Vanata. Honestly, and I could get myself out of that one. I don't love Lando. I really don't. But anyways, I will take him for right now. I'm going to go with Elise Pereira. I'm going to go with Azamat Bakoev. I'm going to go with Melissa Gatto and Kai Kamaka. So you could say, like, well, you're not really taking a ton of dogs. Gatto's basically even money, but the realistic nature of this one is Gatto's near even money. Kai Kamaka is near even money. Elise Pereira is near even money. Thomas Peterson is near even money. Most of them are near even money, so they're not necessarily dogs, but it's not like you're taking all the favorites. You got a lot of 50-50s and giant chalk favorites. Of the giant chalk favorites, Bakoev, for my money's worth, would be the one to blow it. And yeah, in terms of the underdogs that I am picking, Gatto, slight plus money. Outside of that, I'm not really seeing it. Last week, there was a zillion MMA organizations on. This week, there's not. I think there's an LFA card and one championship. No, that's about it. But I'm certainly looking for value in other places because this is a UFC Your Job is on the Line card. And some people are going to be firing off on all cylinders. Some people are not looking to wrestle because they want to get a contract extension. Some people are just not trustworthy in the first place. And a lot of these guys, Gatto's not fought in 2 years. Lando's not fought in 3 years. Darius Flowers not fought in 2 years. Somebody else on the card hadn't fought in a while. Point being is that it's a little bit tougher than your absolute straightforward. And yeah, maybe my confidence is a little bit shook too. Every week there's guys that look good who absolutely blow it. This is a card of a bunch of people who do not look good at all, and you need to somehow have trust in them for parlay purposes. So, I'm definitely gonna be deep diving into props and over unders, round totals, all that good stuff to kind of have a way out. But of course, I'm swinging for the fences and trying to hit parlays too. So stay tuned for that. Wait for weigh-ins. That's going to give us our last bit of info. And then, Paul, what else can we do than get swinging for the fences ourselves, right?
We were before this show via text, everything like that. We were just like, hey, this show doesn't have to be much long. I was like, how long does it have to be for Fight Network in television or in Canadian TV? It airs on TV in Canada up here for YouTube or podcast only. And she's like, oh, like an hour and 10 minutes, like max. And I was like, all right, we'll keep this one short. This one ended up being longer than last week's show, but I had a good time.
I had a
Thanks for
good
being
time
here,
too.
bud.
And you could touch every. I noticed that you will spend 10 minutes breaking down Rafael Estevam versus Ethyn Ewing, and the comment will be, "I can't believe they didn't mention this is at 135." So now what we do is we touch base on all the pertinent information we can, and sometimes it takes a long time, but yeah, like I told you, man, I got 3 kids. I spend most of my days hanging out at home watching fights and talking to a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 3-year-old. The most interaction I have with like a friend of mine is Paul Shaughnessy via this video. And so I appreciate you taking the time as always. And then like, yeah, this is my release. So if it sounds like I'm rambling, it's because I too am having a good time. But I can't sit here and talk about fights and then have a poor result every time. It's like, why are you wasting your time? Are you not tape researching? I am putting in the work. And yet slight bounces are going off the rails. But I'm not one to get down on myself. I'm not one to make excuses, and I'm not one to basically have low motivation to jump back on the pony. So that's all we can do here is that we're at the Apex in Vegas. Historically, it's been better than these arena shows. Historically, the judging's been bad, but you don't got to worry about some hometown guy getting the rub and screwing you on some ticket. And so we're back to basics, right? What are the meat and potatoes? Who's going to win more often than not? And then leave it up to the MMA gods.
I mean, MMA is a cruel game, man. We've been at it for what, like 15 years now?
Long time, brother.
I've been betting on sports for 15 years now. So it's like if you have the first 3 months of 2026 have been pretty bad generally. I had a slight winning week last week, but it's like, I haven't had a big banger, not many big, huge winning weeks. And, as I'm keeping track of my stuff, I'm down on the year, but like turn around, have 3 hot months, and we're back in the green, baby. So, I mean, the way I play, it's just like honestly 1 or 2 big nights, and I'm all the way back because I play pretty aggressive. Some crazy stuff, people would say. Anyway, it's a marathon, not a race. So it's like sometimes, you break yourself down, you get all worked up about a few results here and there, but the number one thing of surviving in this game is perseverance and just being able to fight through these moments, because you will get the bounces on the other side, or you won't, and you should probably just quit gambling altogether. But if that's you, that's you. I ain't quitting on anything. There's plenty of fights every single week. Anyway, that is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For Cody, I'm Paul saying goodbye and good luck.